everybody. Welcome to the demo drop. In a minute, I'm going to be bringing on our very special guest, Guyver. Yeah. I hope you're all good. Yeah. Welcome in. Hi, Bazza. Hi, Kid Dynamo. Hi, Decion. Hi, Techie Steph. Hi, Cheese Purveyor, Ip Duo, everyone over on Facebook as well. Hello. Make sure you give it a share, please. So yeah, I've got Guy on. He is an amazing DJ, isn't he? He's an even more amazing music producer as well. So I know that you guys enjoy me having him on. And right now is a really good time for me to have him on because he's just started his Patreon, which I'm sure a few of you are already aware of. But yeah, I thought we'd get him on so he can plug that a bit and also have a listen to some of your music. I've not been able to have as many tracks on today, obviously, because I'm going to be speaking to Guy in between. And obviously, as it's Guy, you probably want a little bit more, feedback from him. So, yeah, we've got 7. We've got 7 of you in. Let me just get my. Oh no, I don't need it from this. So yeah, I am going to bring him on now. Yeah, Sean is on his Patreon. Yeah. No worries, Pete. So yeah, here we go. Here is the main man. Yay!
Hello.
It's Guyver.
How are you doing, everyone?
So let me just check your levels. You are.
I'm okay there.
Yeah. You're
right?
all good. You're all good, darling.
Good
Cool. So yeah, I've got you on today to help me do my demo dropping. As you know, I do this every single week. I have some questions as well that a few people have asked for you to answer.
Okay.
So I think while we wait for a few more people to get in,
sounds good.
I am going to ask you a question, and this question it's a nice easy one to begin with. They're going to get harder as we go along.
All right. Okay.
But this one is from Gav Hobbs, and it is, what is your favourite colour?
What do you think it is?
Well, I reckon it's either emergency yellow or orange.
It's not it maybe used to be.
Yeah, you've always liked that.
It's purple at the moment.
Is
purple
it?
is my favourite colour, yeah.
Oh, okay, I got it wrong then. I thought it was emergency yellow or orange.
It used to be. But
when did you change it?
I don't know. I don't remember the day or the date. I just think purple goes with more stuff, doesn't it? Like I like orange. Like if I'm going to wear something bright, it'd be yellow or orange. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Hi, Chella. Yeah. So I was kind of half right then. But yeah, like I didn't know that was your favorite because that's my favorite color.
Yeah. Well, I think I really liked yellow and orange for a bit, and I got it out of my system. And purple's just it's a bit less obvious, isn't it?
I'd say it's more obvious purple. Okay.
Well, obviously not because you didn't guess it.
No, because I thought that you like emergency yellow and orange. I need to update my Guyver data in my mind.
Your Guyver guide.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. So, and the other questions are a bit more like, they're a lot more music production related. So, and I think that these will be better like sprinkled in between a few of the tracks that we're going to listen to. Yeah. So yeah, without further ado, then we're going to have a listen to the very first track. I'm going to choose someone actually who I know is in my list, and I can see them in the chat. So if you have got a track, if you got an email from me today, can you just put a message in the chat box, because I would like to make sure you're here, because I know it's always a lot more enjoyable for you guys when you're in the chat and it's live. What genres, Sean? Every single genre. Any genre. So don't worry about that. Okay, 1 second. I've got to put my thing up. I can see Audio Chaserz is in, so I'm going to get to you in a sec, mate. 1 sec. Cool. Yeah, if you are watching on Facebook, can you just give it a share for us, please? Thank you. So thank you, Sphero, for subscribing. It didn't come up on my Ujma What's It, but I think you've just subscribed because you got a shout out. Unless my Amber DAI has been weird. No, we can do dubstep as well. Dubstep's great. Kevin Papworth says, did you find that tune I mentioned, Amber? Set It Off. I do have a version of Set It Off. Hi, Wilson.
My mum's in as well.
Pardon?
My mum's in.
Oh, yeah. Mummy Mums. That's my mother-in-law. Good. Okie dokie. So we are going to do Audio Chaserz first because I saw that Audio Chaserz is in. I think Techie Steph's in as well. Hi, Nikita. Okay. So, yeah, just remember to mute, Guy, when we listen to this. No worries. Okay, so first of all, this is Survivor, Eye of the Tiger, Audio Chaserz remix. Let me just find my little thing. Okay, off we go. There we go. Then that's Survivor Eye of the Tiger by Audio Chaserz. Guyver, what do you think of that?
Yeah, I think it's. I couldn't hear the first little bit of it because I didn't realize I had to mute my audio on here, and then I had to go watch your stream on Facebook.
Oh,
you didn't tell me that.
Oh, yeah,
so when you started playing the music, I couldn't hear, I just had a really like tiny bit coming out your speakers.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But yeah, but no, but I heard the majority of the track.
Yeah,
I thought
okay.
it was really good. It had kind of like a side trancey type vibe, but not really in the sense of the production, like the choice of sounds, I guess. So it's got that sort of like minimum. But yeah, like I enjoyed the simple nature of the remix. To be honest, I thought it was really well done. So yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, I liked it. I mean, obviously, it's a very brave choice to be remixing a rock song, especially from this era. I did notice that there was a little bit of timing issues with the vocal, which I'm not surprised because obviously this would never have been made in a DAW. It was all made live. So I think you did an extremely good job to warp it as well as you have done. The only thing I would say, when you get to the middle eight of the song, and there's that and it goes into the middle eight, there is a different progression with the bass line that we're probably used to hearing, and it did jar me a little bit. It doesn't mean to say that needs to be corrected or anything like that. It just means that it will take a while for someone to get used to hearing it in a slightly different way. And then obviously you've got the da 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 of the tiger, and then that in itself kind of changes from the scale that it normally would be in. That's the expression of that particular track. So obviously that's where I'm saying this is why it was a very brave choice of track to do. So with all of that said, I think you've done a really, really good job with it. I like the offbeat nature of it as well. And yeah, I think you've done a really good job. It's certainly something I'm going to remember. What about you, Guy?
Yeah, like what you were saying about the different. Was that part in the track? Because I didn't hear that bit. The bit that he was on about with the crescendo bit.
Yeah, it was. That
was in the track.
Yeah.
Oh, right, because I didn't hear that bit, so I was messing about, obviously trying to get to be able to hear the track. So
we're going to go back and listen to it again because I want you to be able to listen to the full thing.
Okay, cool.
Well,
Yeah,
okay,
that's
rewind.
So
yeah, it's only fair. Okay.
Yeah, well, I've just got you on another tab that I'll just unmute.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I forgot to tell you about that. Okay, we're going to listen to it again now. Are you ready? Are you ready?
What, are you playing the whole thing again?
Yeah, from so that you can understand what I was talking about on this as well.
Yeah, you just have to play the bit that you was talking about, really.
Yeah, okay. I'm going to go.
I heard quite a lot of the track. I just didn't hear that bit. So.
Okay, cool. Okay, here we go. again. You've heard the rest of it. There was, yeah, like I said before, that there's a bit of a timing issue on that little section there as well. That just needs.
Yeah. So I'll just jump in and say that's kind of like if you wanted to improve the remix, I'd say that work on getting the timing right with the original samples. So that could be a case of if you're using where you're using like the power chords or whatever, instead of just using the whole pattern, like cut out each individual power chord and sync it up individually if you haven't done that already. And like this sort of thing can take a lot of time. Like, so it's just like if you can bother to do it, then but it would improve the the experience of listening to it. And then if you're going to put that much effort into that, then I would also put a bit more effort into accentuating the memorable parts, what people know about that track. So like with the power chords, like the duh, 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 you could create a more of a moment with that. So rather than just having it sort of loosely in the track, you could actually like have like a little mini break with it, which would be more of a homage to the original. Then you could do some more creative things in the spaces, like so. But again, it's like it's more effort, but it's not something that it'd been quite fun to do. Like so, like what I used to do is like if this was a big challenge for you, and for you you are happy with what you've done with the remix, that's cool. Like just sit on it, enjoy it, and then maybe a little bit later down the line, you can always revisit it and just try and one up yourself like little bit later on. That's probably how I would advise going at it again if you wanted to. So.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I really like what you were saying there about making like a moment out of those power chords. Because you could even like resample that and then make it into a whole, like you say, another section there, which would, like you say, would pay homage to it. I think it's worth tightening up that little area there and you know, and pursuing getting this exactly how you want. I know that you did say, Audio Chasers, that this wasn't completely finished yet. So this will probably be a nice time for you now to kind of like, you know, work out where you want to go from here. So yeah, well, yeah, thank you very much, Guy, for your insight on that one. And thank you very much, Audio Chasers. Make sure you get following Audio Chasers gang. Go and follow. Gav Hobbs said quite funnily, Eye of the Guyver.
Yeah, I saw that. I tried to position my camera, but but it's a lion, isn't it? It's not a tiger.
Oh yeah.
So it don't even work. You can't even see his eyes. Look, eyes just out of shot.
Well, that's very.
If I had
typical.
Babu's asleep next to me, but if he was up here, I'd pick him up.
Yeah, he's like a baby tiger, isn't he?
He is, yeah, but he's fast asleep, curled up right next to me.
Aww, yeah. he's behaving. I've the liger, yeah. Hello to everyone who's saying hello in the chat as well. Make sure you give it a share, please. And once again, Audio Chasers, thank you very much for sending it in. Hi, Kat. The Cat Presents is in as well. Great to see you, darling. So I'm going to ask you a question now before we move on to the next track.
Can you see that?
No, look at him. That's our son. Yes. He's so lovely. Rennie says, I'm only here because of Guyver. That's fine. Me too. Okay, so is Conor Kieran in yet? I want to know if Conor is in yet. I know Quinny's in. Okay, if Quinny is in. What headphones is Guy using, says Matt?
What, these ones?
They're your Sono.
Ultrazone HFI 2400. They're discontinued now. They're like over 11 years old.
Yeah, you bought me some, didn't you? I told everyone before about the Ultrazone ones you bought me like about 6 years ago.
So the main feature of them is that they have a patented design, so they send the audio like rather than straight into the ear, it's like around the ear, so it's the safe, really safe for like long term usage.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, But yeah, like I tried a few different well-known brands, weren't happy, and then I just took a punt on Ultrasound one time, and I've loved them. I've used them ever since. I mean, it's a testament to how good they are. That the fact that I've had these over 11 years, and they're pretty much still as new.
Yeah, I mean, I remember years ago you used to use them for for music production, but I've not seen you use headphones for music production in a long time. Is that
and there's a reason why.
Why?
Because I've got a sub now. So
okay.
like my issue with my monitors was getting the bottom end right. So I used to use, which is weird, I know, because you're not supposed to use headphones for doing your bottom end on, but I always used to overcompensate with my monitors for whatever reason. And then so because I was so used to my headphones, I used to be able to get it like how I wanted.
Yeah.
So when I got this sub, the Mackie sub, to go with my monitors, it's made working on my monitors like so good. Like
yeah.
So I would never use headphones now because I don't need to. Whereas in the past, I was so used to using my headphones, it was I guess I just felt like it was a safer route for me.
Yeah, I mean, we've had this conversation a lot. You keep saying to me, I need to get a sub in my studio because anytime that I finish a track, I render it, send it up to your studio, and then we listen to it in your studio, and it always sounds so different. So yeah, it will be that. But as you know,
it's far more subtle than you think it will be.
Yeah.
Like I remember when I first got it, I felt a little bit disappointed with it because it didn't like sound like a bloody car sub or whatever. But it's good that it's not like that because it's supposed to not colour the audio.
Yeah.
So it just what it does for me is that I can listen to my music in the studio on a low volume, and I can kind of still feel the frequencies in my chest. And that's what the sub's doing. So it's like you feel satisfied from your kick and bass when you should feel satisfied from it. So it stops you from trying to like boost the bass all the time, and you know that's what you generally do if you don't have sub frequencies there because you're trying to compensate and you're trying to like recreate that club sound. So.
Yeah, exactly. And also like with any monitors, mine included. They say they go down to 40 hertz, but it's not really a true 40 hertz. And even then, you know, you still need a little bit more in the sub regions to actually be able to hear it. So having a dedicated sub for that is definitely the right idea.
Yeah, and my sub, I have the crossover frequency on my sub at 200 hertz.
Yeah.
So it's not just giving the sub; it's giving like all the low end.
Yeah.
Really.
Cool. Is it the same make as well? Have you got a Mackie sub?
It's Mackie, yeah, that's all Mackie, yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I'm just trying to go through all of the messages. Matt Edwards says, what sub would you recommend?
Well, I can tell you what mine is.
Yeah.
Let me just search for it. Yeah, mine's the Mackie CR8AS, I think, yeah. Yeah, that looks like it. Yeah, it's about 170 quid.
Is it?
Yeah,
cool.
Mackie CR8S XBT. It's got Bluetooth on it, which you found out that night, didn't you? Remember she was in a bedroom and she was, what was it? We got back from a gig or something. It was quite late.
It must have been, yeah.
And then you just randomly paired yourself to my sub and blasted out the bounce music or whatever it was. He just thought, oh, I'll just pair to this. I don't know what it is, but I'll just pair to it. And it was my sub. And it freaked me out because the volume was going high because obviously you paired up to it and then you started turning it up and it was going louder and louder. And yeah, and my monitors go really loud. So I shut myself.
Well, good job I wasn't watching anything else, isn't it? Bluetooth to your
yeah.
Anyway. So Conor Kieran is in the chat right now. Conor, I'm going to play your track next, and I also I'm going to ask your question first. So Conor said, any tips on getting tracks heard by the right people or better ways of self-promotion when you had a self-promotion, when you predicted it had a lot of potential, meaning like a track, but it didn't really go anywhere? Would you say having decent labels assisting with marketing and promo plays a big part in some tracks blowing up for you?
Could you send me that text so I could read it?
Yeah, of course. I'm going to put it in the chat now.
It's just hard for me to process all
Yeah,
that.
of course. That's understandable. But the reason why I thought this would be an interesting one for you is because of the lack of self-promotion that you do.
I mean, first I was quite lucky to get noticed by Tidy, because they definitely had a big part, a massive part in me being successful. Because, like I said, I don't really do it myself. I can do it myself. I can promote my stuff myself. I've got better with it as I got older, but it's not really my role. Like I'm a creator. I'm a producer, and like that's my. I'm best when I'm focused on that. So
Yeah.
I thrive when I've got a manager. You know, when I've got someone that can kind of deal with stuff that I'm not the best at. Because otherwise, I will just take a quick route and I'll just do it with low investment, and then I won't get the best results. So my like I've obviously I've been signed with Tidy and I got success with them, but then I kind of restarted and I did trance, and I kind of went through the rejection and stuff with trance as I was learning it, and there was a lot of times where I'd send tracks to labels and wouldn't get a response, and then but like no response is a response, because like that's how I'd see it, well, obviously it's not good enough. But then there was like the odd occasion where there was a track that I made specifically to try and get signed on Vandit, on Paul Van Dyke's label, and then they never replied to me. So I ended up releasing it on Slinky, because Lee said he'd have it for Slinky. And then a few months later, the Vandit messaged me and said, "Oh, we want this track." I was like, "Well, it's too late now." I thought you didn't want it because you didn't reply to me. I'd left it a good few months. So, and then there's other things that you can do, like just doing remixes, really good remixes of well-known tracks is a really good way to get noticed. And there's ways that you can use that to like leverage your position with labels or people that you're trying to get noticed by. I think that's, in this day and age, that's probably your quickest route. Like, and the key with that is just you've got to make sure your remix is unnoticeable. Not unnoticeable. Is that not unnoticeable? Unmissable. Not unnoticeable. That means it's really shit. So, like you want to try and make a track that hits all the right spots, and that can take a bit of time to get, but it's good because it makes you a better producer. You know, if you like, I did this with my Coldplay Scientist remix. So I when I was making trance, I was like ticking boxes. I didn't really envision myself as doing the whole trance thing as a career, but I did want to say I've had a label, a track on this label. I've had, I got a tune of the week on the State of Trance. I had a tune released on Ferry Corson's label, and then I had a few more released on Liquid, on Spinning and stuff. And then it was just like I kind of like decided I prefer doing my hard trance and Guyver stuff because it's more exciting to make. You know, some of the trance it's quite boring to make because you have to like it's a bit too, I don't know, it's a bit too, what's the word? There's too many rules I found.
Yeah, there are
when I
a
was
lot of
making
rules.
trance. There's too many worries. Like whereas with my hard trance, I can pretty much do what I want within reason. But maybe that's just because it
Formulaic,
comes more
as
natural
Dan
to me.
says, yeah.
Unforgettable, yeah, that's what I was thinking of. Someone's put in the chat, not unnoticeable. So yeah, I tried. I'll just leave on this one last thing. So I tried to get noticed by Black Earl and Tiesto. So I did a remix of Suburban Train, and I obviously did the Coldplay remix, the Scientist remix, which blew up. And it blew up because I sent it with Suburban Train to Tiesto, right? So Tiesto got given these two tracks, or got given the Scientist remix anyway. As far as I was aware, he never listened to it because the reply that I got from Black Hole was like like, I'm paraphrasing here, but to the sum of, you are not allowed to remix Tiesto's music. You don't do that. That's, you know, like, you shouldn't have done that. You didn't have permission to do that. They didn't say anything about the Scientist remix, by the way. So, like, and then a few weeks later, I started seeing all these videos pop up, Tiesto, Scientist remix or whatever, and playing it at Victoria Park, and it's my remix, and he's just smashing it all around the world. Like, I mean, I was grateful for the promotion, and like, people were correcting it, people in the comments and stuff saying, no, it's Guyver's remix or whatever. And that was a bit of a lesson in, like, that's an industry I'm not that bothered about getting involved in or investing more energy into, because that's a really shitty thing to do. Like, I don't mind him whoever, I can't remember who replied to me, it was one of his management. I don't mind him saying, look, you're not allowed to remix his tune, that's fine. But if you're going to give him the Scientist remix and he's going to have a good reaction to it and play it, at least tell me. Have the decency to go, oh, nice one on the remix, it's a good remix, that. Because otherwise, that to me, it comes across as really shady. Because it comes across to me like they've tried to like sort of do it shadily in a way that they're hoping that people think that it's his remix.
Because they're not really going out of their way to explain. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, do you think that that's really their? They don't owe you anything. I mean, I know.
No, completely.
Yeah.
I'm just sharing the story.
So
that like, there's a few different ways of that I've experienced. So the reason for me sharing that is that it's not that, like I wouldn't go to the ends of the earth to try and get on a label all the time. Like, I think that there's a lot of value in you doing your own thing. Obviously, you need to get noticed, but you can get noticed just by being authentic and being consistent, and you will get noticed by the right people. So what I would say is just don't dilute yourself too much just to get on a certain label or to have a certain release, because ultimately it doesn't really mean anything. Like, it might be good for ticking a box, and that's cool, like for your own goals and stuff, but I would say just really focus on having a unique sound, something that when people come across you, learn how to make short videos of your tracks or whatever, stuff that can be shared around easily. And that, I think, is a better way, to get noticed these days. It's a difficult one to advise on, because, like, I feel lucky that I sort of got a good following, and so I'm kind of my approach is that I kind of do stuff, and I'm grateful that people notice it. But it's not everything. Like, so you do have to sort of hone in on certain areas. So yeah,
I mean, there is, like, what you said there about in the trance the trance industry. I do see that there is a level of gatekeeping there. But I actually think that because the stuff that you had, was it Sunburst that came out on Ferry's label?
No, Sunbeam was on Slinky.
Went out, but then which was the one that you had on Ferry's label?
K8.
Yeah. Okay. So what that says to me is, like, because you're not really a known trance producer, but it does show that they recognised and wanted your work on there. So even though there could be some labels that may gatekeep or be RC in that way, or protective, if you want to not look at it as a negative thing, more protective over the music.
They were just protecting his music.
Yeah.
Like, that's all it was. Like,
but it can be, if you're a new producer or someone that's not used to that, it could put you off.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Well, it definitely put me off him. Like I would, never sent him anything ever again.
Well, it sounds to me like what would have happened is Black Hole would have sent it over to Tiesto, and Tiesto probably never even knew that you got in contact. It would have just been, like how.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I wouldn't have even thought.
No, completely. But they could have at least said, "Oh, well, we'll send you."
Completely.
Your remix to him or whatever, which would have been just simple courtesy. Like, ultimately, I don't feel bitter about the situation. All it is just it just highlights. It highlighted to me what I didn't want.
Yeah.
I didn't want to have them experiences. So I'd rather like I'll give you a contrasting a contrasting experience related to the same tune. So I gave the same tune to Woody Van Eyden, who is a nutcase.
Yeah.
And there was a video of him playing it where he ends up like taking his top off and he's like sweaty in a club, like dancing like this. And he was great. Every time I saw him, he was really like, because I saw him a couple of times when I played at Colours Fest, and he was great. Like,
Yeah.
and he actually wanted to sign one of my other trance tracks, which ended up being on the Sign Language album because it was Shutter Speed.
Wow.
He wanted to
yeah.
sign Shutter Speed, which I never ended up releasing because I was so I kind of like didn't want to. I don't know. I didn't want to do it for whatever reasons. And I just sat on that track for like 10 years, and then I remade it for Sign Language. So
yeah, brilliant. So yeah, Conor, I hope that answers your question. But you know, if anything to take away from that really is, if you're putting energy into these kinds of things, you know, don't second guess yourself. Make sure you're doing stuff from the heart. And if a label likes it and they pick it up, then that's brilliant. But the moment that we start chasing after, you know, being affirmed by anyone other than ourselves when it comes to our music, it's a dangerous game then. And, you know, it's kind of like being in a dysfunctional relationship where, you know, you're being kind of love bombed 1 minute and then that's the rug's taken away from you the next kind of thing. You
can't control how other people hear your music. So you might think that you've got a track that's brilliant, like, and you love it for whatever reason. Like, you can hope that other people like it and like it to the same level, but you can't guarantee it.
Yeah.
Same with labels. You can kind of have a good guess. And my experience as a producer has been much more enjoyable and stable since I cared less about other people's thoughts of my music. Like, and that might sound like an odd thing to say, but you know, I've been doing it a while now, so I have trust in my ability to make good music, and I think I make my best music when I make it for myself.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, I am a clubber. I am a listener of music. I am the same as everyone, all my fans that listen to my music. So, like, it's better if I listen from that perspective. Like, so as long as you're keeping yourself in check as a producer and you're not just got the producer hat on going, oh, I can hear my super duper compression on my kick drum. Like, as long as you're not thinking like that when you listen to music and you're listening objectively and you're able to make the decisions from an objective point of view, then I think it's better to just literally just like tunnel vision sometimes with production and just really go for it, because the best music is when you get them weird ideas or whatever and they're really done well, because people that make them tracks, they don't think, oh, is that going to fit in his set, or is that in that genre or whatever. They'll have a general idea what they're going to make, and then they'll just go, right, I want to stick this in it, or I want to do that, and then they'll, you know, hone your abilities to be able to do it, you know, seamlessly if you can. Yeah, some ideas are more difficult than others, but just enjoy making your music, and ultimately people will discover it if it's good enough. I firmly believe that.
Yeah, definitely. Me too. With that said, we have now got Conor's track that we're going to listen to now. So I want you to give some feedback on that afterwards. Here we go. So there we go, Conor, Kieran, Neverland. I know that is already out and about on digital download sites such as Beatport. Make sure you go and buy it, gang. Link is in the chat now. Guyver, what did you think of that?
I really liked it. I just felt like it could do with a little bit of extra energy in places. Because at the moment it's on a really nice level. It's like on a nice bopping level, like you're bopping along. And then I feel like it just needs just some injection of energy in places which you could just do by repeating bits of the vocal, or creating more with an extension of the Hoover sounds or things like that. So yeah, like it depends on it depends on what it wanted to achieve with the track, like because so a track like this in this state, it would work well as like a warm-up track,
Yeah.
A track that you could quite easily mix for long periods, with other tunes.
Yeah.
Because it's on one level, it's nice and stable. It's not doing anything too out of the ordinary. So, that's in that state, and it's suiting the purpose. But obviously, the way that I'm hearing the track wanting to be is to be a bit more energetic. But that doesn't necessarily mean that that's what he wanted to do with it. So, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. That's the one thing that I was going to say. The one thing that I absolutely love about this is that kick and bass sounded great. Like, if that was my kick and bass, I'd be so fucking happy. Because once you've got that done, you can kind of relax quite a bit. And then the other stuff kind of like takes shape around it. I would have liked to have seen, after the second breakdown, maybe like a prominent acid line in there, or another like a lead sound in there, and like you said, something like repeating the vocal over and over. But again, it depends what you're going for, because if you were thinking of this as like a hard techno track, then it's kind of it's already there, kind of a thing. But if you wanted it to, I mean, even then, something as simple as having like heavy rides coming in just lifts up the track and brings more energy to it. There's a kind of a rule that I stick to, and I think many other people, including Guy, probably stick to, have a change every 16 bars. So something comes in, something goes out. Effects would be really helpful here, I think, just having a few more layered effects in there for a bit of texture, a little bit of ear candy, that kind of thing. But like I said in the beginning, ultimately you've got the kick and the bass there, and that's basically the main thing for me. 100%.
Yeah, like just touch on what you just said. So yeah, I think if you wanted to keep the feel pretty much the same, like in terms of you liking that sort of stable energy of the track, then I think a 303 like acid line would be the best thing to add to it, rather than like a new main riff or anything. Because acid lines, everyone knows what an acid line is. You can put it into a track and immediately make the track sound more exciting, and you don't have to like introduce something new, like in terms of a melody or anything like that. It's like it's just something to just drive the track a bit more.
Yeah.
You could even you can even see what the track sounds like with taking your bass pattern rather than just being a straight offbeat, and just put like a double offbeat, so rather than just having a straight offbeat. And that again can completely change the feel of the track. You could even do that without even adding the acid line, and it would add a lot more energy. So there's these little tricks are ways of you to achieve the same effect of what it would be to develop the other sounds more, but by keeping your track simple. So
yeah, simple ideas, definitely. Cool, thank you. And thank you, Conor. Next up, we have got Quinny, and this is I'll Take You Higher. go. That is Quinny, I'll Take You Higher. I'm just going to say, a few people are mentioning about the clap in that. I really like the clap the way that it is. It's kind of like offset, and I think that that really helps it to sound kind of fuller and more like crunchy and more like organic. It's maybe, if it was me, I might have brought it in a slight bit tighter, but I actually really like that quality of it, because it's like, it's so organic, and I really like that about it. I also love what you've done on two parts of that with the distortion, where you've like properly over distorted it, and it just sounds epic. Guy, what about you?
Yeah, I love it. I can see what people are saying about the clap. Like I like the quality of the clap, but
yeah,
it's one of them things that it could be just a touch tighter. Like, and it depends on how he's done the how they've done the clap, like whether they've done it manually or whether it's. To me, it sounds like it's you can get like a hand clap plugin. It's designed to be a little bit
yeah.
humanized and random on each individual note.
Mm-hmm.
If it's something like that, then a way that I would try and quantize it more, I would probably like render down like an 8-bar loop, and I will just sort of make it sound as tight as I could without losing the feel of the humanization, and then just use and then rebounce it down, and then use that, because sometimes plugins that introduce a little bit of randomness and humanizations, they can be so unreliable when you're wanting it to be tight in a specific section or something. So
yeah,
depends on how they've done the sound. But the only thing that I would say that, so if it was my track and what I would work on is that, so like your the best bits about this track is like the when it drops to the kick and the bass, and it's really got a really big room sound. So in order to maximize the moment of that, them sort of sounds coming in and everyone enjoying that, on the breakdown, I would try to make more of a thing of the pluck. Like at the moment, the pluck, like trancey sound that comes in, for me, I would like to experiment with it opening up a lot more, and coming up to like a much more like spacious, like, you know, increasing like the reverb automation and stuff and making it sound really, really big, really, really washed out. So then when you do drop to the kick and the bass and everything, it sounds even more intense. It sounds more of a contrast. So yeah, that's one thing that I think would but I mean, it's just something to try. Like you sometimes you just got to try stuff out and you might go, oh, well, actually it sounds better how it is. But you know, I always find like a lot of my experimentation in the studio is literally just to appease myself of at least I've tried it, so I don't have any regrets about, you know, deciding if a track's finished or not.
Yeah.
Because at least I've tried all these different ways of doing it, and if you know, and then ultimately just decide on which is the best way of doing it. So
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah, Quinny, you know I love your stuff. I'm playing that other track that you sent me for a couple of weeks ago now, a lot. And yeah, I just love the sound of this. I love the gated kick as well. I felt like the bottom end was really nice and clear, clean sounding. And again, like I said, I'll mirror what I said before with Conor's track as well, is once you've got that kick and bass locked in and your percussion around it and stuff, like I definitely personally feel that it gives me confidence to go out and try other things, like what Guy said there about, you know, maybe doing some like automation there with that pluck, you know, trying out different ideas. I really like that idea of that, maybe like with the release as well, and bringing up a high pass filter, you know, and really like bringing in that expression into that sound would be another great element. Because
I'd say it's just lacking a bit of tension in the break, because it's got a really nice break and it has a really nice moment, and then so like the thing that I think that could have a bit more tension and more energy, is just at the end of the like towards the drop.
Yeah.
Really, it sounds fine as it is.
Yeah.
But it's something that if you got right would make the track sound at least sort of 10-15% better, or 20% better.
Yeah,
it's one of them
definitely.
things that it create more of a moment of the best bits of the track, which you know, so it's like you highlight, you recognizing what are the best qualities about this track that I've made, and how do I further highlight them to people, and that's a way to highlight it to people that are listening to the track without them, you know, realizing. Because like, it'll go for something like really washed out, and it's bang straight contrasting, bang straight back into your kick bass and stuff.
Yeah.
And it really does add a lot more impact.
Yeah, without having to add anything else.
Yeah,
you know, you're making the most of the stuff that you've already got. This is something I found so many times, definitely like recently, that of like utilizing a sound, you know, when like that track that I did called Metal, and there was like a macro where it was going through the wave table, and that was also connected to the release and the filter, and it really made a sound that I was like, I really, really like this sound as it is anyway, but then evolving it, just it stops the listener from getting bored, because it's that ear candy that we're after, and also it means that you can make the most, like we said, out of the elements that you've got, without having to keep fucking adding more and more and more and more stuff, and then it be getting in, you know, muddy in the mix. And because the thing is, we need to recognize, or we need to remember that a track, like if you think about a rock band's what you got: a rhythm guitar, a bass guitar, a singer, drums, and maybe someone on the tambourine or something. That's five channels, like that technically anyway, that could make a track. You know, like when I've got sent stems, I'm doing a remix at the moment for Joe Ventura, and there was only 10 stems in the whole thing. Mine aren't like that. Mine are like 50. Like, but it just goes to show that you don't need to have loads and loads and loads and loads and loads and loads of things going on, you know, in order for it to be a full track. So to be able to maximize from each sound that we've got, or, you know, be able to evolve like that synth line in this instance is
Go on.
Yeah, I
Are you
was
about
just getting to the end of that. Yeah, it's just.
Yeah, I just wanted to say before, because otherwise I'll forget what I'm going to say. So just what you talk about there. So with regards to that pluck that comes in on the breakdown, like it's like the only really time that that sound is in the track, unless it comes in like on the outro or whatever. So you kind of have to like that's probably what you have to do more with the sound, because like when you're first introducing a sound in a track, you're introducing it to to the listener. Okay, so say if you've introduced that pluck sound a little bit in the intro, it means that you can introduce it in the breakdown without needing to capture the person's attention as much. But if you've not used that pluck like at any point in the track and then you just bring it in the breakdown, that sound needs to be good. It needs to be really, really good, like in my opinion, because otherwise it's not going to it's because it's in a really important moment of the track. Okay, so I would say that have have clarity on what the purpose of that sound is doing. If it's supposed to be a main lead sound, then make it bigger. Like take a main lead sound and just turn it into a pluck, and then just filter it down, and then just you can open it up a little bit more towards the end of the break. If you want it to be more light, more plucky, more bell light, more like a piano, then lean more into that. So layer a piano with it, and then play around with some shimmery reverbs and things like that that you can help to just widen it and bring it out and stuff. Just at the moment, it seems like that sound lacks identity, or at least its identity isn't strong enough. So so yeah, if it because sometimes as a producer you can kind of like fall into the trap of just going, oh, that sound will do because I quite like it and it's a pluck and it plucks work in
I do
trance,
that.
and it's like you can become a little bit lazy, especially if your other elements are really good. Like can make
Yeah.
you lazy, yeah.
Yeah.
Like so, and sometimes it takes a few revisions, you know, because one revision that say like this revision is you just like loving your kick and bass that you made, which is great. You should do that until you exhaust yourself with it, and then you're like, right now I want to sort out this part of the track that I'm not as happy with.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about it from a perspective as what I would do if this was my track. Okay, so
Yeah.
like, not saying this is how you think about your track.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like some of my tracks on my album, they have like 160 versions. Like, because like I'll try certain things out, and I'll like for instance in this case, I would probably go like to the extreme where I'd probably try and make that pluck into a main lead sound, but make it start as a pluck and try opening it up towards
Opening
the
it
end.
up, yeah.
So like you are able to like increase the intensity of the track, and then see how it sounds.
Yeah.
And then decide from there, like, because at least trying out that extreme angle of it going really, really big,
Yeah.
it'll give you clarity on what you actually want from that sound.
So start really big and then work backwards to bring that first point of that pluckiness.
I think so, because at the moment my thoughts on that sound is that it needs to be bigger. So just try and make it as big as you can, and then if it sounds too big, at least you know where you stand with the sound, what you want to do with it.
I like that. So JLF has put, I watched a tutorial the other day and they said when they finish a track, they then go through and take out as much as they can till it stops sounding finished. That's interesting. What do you think about that, Guy?
I'm not quite sure what it means by that. Like,
it means I get what that means. It's probably not
okay.
relevant to you because you only
just
put in
rephrase
stuff.
it then for me.
You put stuff in very mindfully, but like for me, the reason what I was thinking when I read that was the amount of effects and stuff that I can sometimes put in can be a little bit overkill. So I'm actually going to try that out where I'm going to take stuff out until it stops sounding finished.
I go through various stages of that all the time when I'm working on my album tracks. They take a long time to make, and there'll be sometimes weeks between sessions. Like, so I'm always kind of housekeeping them.
Yeah.
If I guess that's the way to describe it. But yeah, I think the thing that makes you a better producer in terms of experience is one of them things. Being able to judge what to take out as well as what to leave in, you know, because you might have a really good sound that you might have spent 2 hours making. You have to have the ability to go, it's not right.
Working.
And
Yeah.
it doesn't mean that you wasted your time, because you can put that sound to a side and use it again on a different day.
Yeah.
I've done that. There's a couple of tracks on sign language that I made for Alien on Earth, but they just didn't work. In for whatever reason, they didn't fit the overall thing that I was going to do. It didn't mean that they were bad. They were just weren't right for that
Yeah.
album, and they were more right for the sign language album, probably because they were more melodic. And Alien on Earth had a bit of a darker sound overall. So
Yeah, I like that. And yeah, something that I've always liked to do is to keep, if there's been a specific MIDI pattern that I really like, or even a sound, you know, just make sure you save a copy of that, just so it never gets lost in an unfinished project somewhere down the line, because there's a reason why you liked it. But like you said, it might just not suit whatever it was that you were doing at the time. So Josh JLF has also asked you a question. Excuse me. And it is, since when he was making early tracks, I'm going to write it in the chat as well for you.
okay.
Since when he was making early tracks like Serious Sound, etc., what are the 2 things you've learned which you wish you knew then, which would have made those tracks even better? And then also another question on that is, any advice on learning to mix down and train your ears? So there's 2 parts to that.
It's a interesting question. So I wish I knew more about sound design back then. But it wouldn't necessarily have made the tracks better.
You
Might have
used
made them
VSTs
worse.
back then, though, did you? Well, it was
Sorry?
Vaz 2000. That was a bit later on,
I
wasn't
had
it?
limited VSTs.
Yeah.
Serious Sound I did with all Fruity plugins.
Yeah.
I think the only external plugins I used was mastering it in Wavelab with some Steinberg mastering plugin.
Wavelab. Oh my god.
I
I
used to master in Wavelab. So yeah, sound design I would have liked to have had back then, because I remember I wanted to make trance, but it wouldn't have necessarily made them tracks any better. So this is a good example of, just because you've got the skills and the experience doesn't necessarily mean you can make good tracks. Because I guess what I had in abundance back then when I was starting out, and I was a avid listener and clubber to that sort of music, so I had a very keen ear. So I like, much like when you would go and listen to vinyl in HMV or whatever, and you would put it on the deck, and you would instantly know if it was something you would buy or not, because of the sound of the kick, the sound of the bass. So like, that's the approach that I would take to production. So if the sound didn't excite me enough, I just wouldn't use it. I wouldn't force it. So I guess early on I developed a really good sound choice, and I've developed a good ear. And then I kind of applied a similar approach to using whatever plugins I had, and because I didn't know sound design, I would just look for good presets. So like, as soon as I could find a good preset, I would save it, and then I would use that, and then try and tweak it as much as I could. And then with regards to riffs, I guess that's probably one thing that maybe the knowledge that I have with making melodies and riffs now, that probably would have made my older tracks better, because I would have been able to add a little bit more variation in certain areas. But then again, there's a certain charm and quality to the rawness of my older stuff that I've appreciated as I've got older. And I know when I was on my productional journey, I was like so intent on getting to become a much more rounded producer, a much more experienced producer. You kind of look on your older stuff with a bit of it's not as good as. I even remember saying to Hammer, I could make Serious sound better. And I remember him saying to me, "What? You think you could make that better?" And that, because I was looking at it from a really purist productional clinical point of view, and like, Emma was just listening to it as it was, and just, no, it sounds mint, like, So yeah, so that's one aspect of it. And then what did he say? They said there were two things. So yeah, I'd say
The
like
other thing
sound
was about
design.
advice on learning to mix down and
Yeah,
train
yeah,
your
yeah.
ears.
So the best advice that I could give with regards to mix down is set you. So with regards to this music, like hard trance, hard house, or whatever, music that is predominantly led by the kick drum, set your kick drum at -6 dB. Have it peaking at -6 dB, and then you want your bass line to be around about the same level, just a little bit quieter than your kick. Obviously, you still need to use your ears, but these dB levels are important for because of the way that we perceive sound. And then start bringing like the sounds up individually. So bring your kick up first to -6 dB, and then your bass line next, sort of around about that area until it sounds about right. Now, what I'll just touch on is so if you're bringing that bass line up to like and say like it's peaking at -6 dB, but it doesn't sound loud enough. Okay, it's showing you there's a problem with the sound. Okay, so it's usually because there's too much sub frequencies in that sound, because sub bass frequencies will peak a lot louder at quieter levels. So you can use your mix down process as a way of helping you with the actual processing each individual mixer track. So, and again with compression, that's another thing that it can highlight if your levels are like peaking at the areas where you want them to be peaking, but then they don't sound either loud enough or they sound too loud, then it can highlight certain problems. So yeah, we'll just go through each individual element, and there's not really like a rule, but as long as you set you kick at -6 dB, it makes it much easier to get everything else into level into level, and it's down to the way that the curve of the dB curve is logarithmic, so it's kind of like the reverse of the exponential curve. So we have much more precision in the range from -6 dB downwards. Whereas if you say like start your kick, if you mix it at like -12, you have less precision from down there to set your levels correctly. So -6 dB is like half as loud as like 0 dB. So then that gives you basically once you've set everything from -6 dB as your loudest point, and then you've set all your levels, your track should like literally just be below peaking.
Yeah.
That's kind of how it works, and that's kind of why it's advised quite a lot. So, people will have different rules, and there's nothing that is technically wrong. But the main reason why I do it this way is because you have more precision with the mixer channels, so it's much easier to set your levels exactly where you want them to be. So yeah, that's my advice.
Yeah, and shout out to Heads Up as well. Heads Up, another amazing producer who also uses FL Studio. So Heads Up says, "Am I mental for mixing to -3 dB? I feel like I'm the only person that does." I have a feeling that it might be something to do with the fact that it's bounced, so maybe it's limited a bit more and everything's kind of like quite leveled out. What do you think?
What's a mixing at -3 dB?
His music, which is predominantly, I think he's speaking about his bounce tracks. But it could just mean
there's nothing wrong with that, but you probably have a better result if you mix at if you have your loudest track at -6.
And that's because of the logarithmic aspect of the
from my
faders.
experience. I mean, I'm not a professor, so like I'm just telling you what my understanding of it might, because they're like I used to just mix down my tracks as and when and just like use my ears as a guide. So I've not always done this. It's only like been the last 5 years or so, probably since I started doing my albums. And then I remember going through my album tracks on Alien on Earth, and I just started mixing them from -6 dB as the loudest track, the kick or whatever, and they just sounded so much better. They sounded so much more balanced, and it wasn't something that I felt like I still mixed them naturally with my ears, but I was just using that as a little guide.
Yeah.
And then I compared them to how I was doing that before, and they still sounded all right, but just not as good. Like they just didn't sound as balanced. So yeah, I would definitely. So like say if you're used to mixing a certain way, -3 dB or whatever, or -9 or -12, whatever number you choose to use, just so do it like that, and then save it, bounce it down, and name it, and then just try it with -6, and then maybe try it as another value, and just see which one you prefer. Because Like my experience in FL Studio and the way that I mix might vary to someone else, but I think that there's definitely something in that in picking a number that gives you the most precision, because it's because of the way the mixer channel responds. Because obviously, it doesn't, as you go further down the fader, you go in ultimately to infinity,
Yeah.
like to quietness. So like it has a lot of precision from 0 dB to say like 24 minus 24 dB, but then it like kind of falls off a cliff
Yeah.
below there.
And then you've
So
got a
like
tiny range of like a millimeter of
yeah,
like, and you won't have enough
so there is
control.
logic in setting a good range to mix him like for your mixer.
So a lot of people are asking, like, then the next step being mastering. Do you then master from 0 dB, or do you turn it down again for mastering, or what do you do after that point for mastering?
Well, the way that I master my tunes is that I have a mastering chain, and then I have like an input gain on my mastering channel. So like, I will use that to set it to be at -6 if it's not already, like, and that's just for consistency, and it's easier than me having to open up the limiter that it goes into and then decreasing the whatever it is in there, because it's ultimately the same thing. It's just it's quicker for me to just use the fruity balance to set the balance level.
So Control 4 says, I have a hunch Guy uses ozone.
I don't use ozone. No.
You should see Guy's mastering chain.
I use a plugin called Sideminder, which is it's like, how was the best to describe it? So you've got your stereo field, you've got your stereo width, and it's kind of like stabilizers. It's like a compressor, but for your width. So if you've got anything that's out of phase, it brings it in. So it allows you to maximize the width of your master without.
Yeah, it's Sideminder, not Sidewinder, Wilson.
Yeah, Sideminder. It's by Raising Jakes. Sideminder. So it's a bit of like an indie plugin, but
I use that as well quite a bit. Just
it's multi-channel as well. So you can make your bass mono, and it's just really cool. So I use that to get more width out of my track without worrying about it going out of phase, because you can quite easily do that with a lot of stereo width plugins. And then I use like a maximizer, which I just prefer the sound of it to a limiter. Like, so a limiter can sound a bit too pumpy and clinical, whereas a maximizer, so this is a better way to describe why I enjoy a maximizer. A maximizer, it's obvious when you're over limiting it, whereas like, say like a Pro L2 or whatever, you can push it much further than they should do because it sounds clean still, and I don't like that, because I will just end up pushing it.
Yeah, you don't know where you are.
I like to have a little bit of desaturation on my maximizer, because it's obvious when it's too much, because it starts to distort. So then I prefer to have that, because then I end up balancing it better. And then I use a Pro Q3 to apply a pink noise like curve over the track, which I'm not going to be able to explain it, but I'll be doing a video on it soon on my Patreon.
So if you want to, so that's a good segue into the Patreon stuff. So would this be something that you'll be covering in the Patreon?
Definitely, yeah. But I'll be doing it in detail soon. I've got it on my list. I've got a big list of things to do. So, the pink noise trick is really cool. You basically analyze a pink noise like sound. So I just use like a Melder noise source. So pink noise is different to white noise in the fact that it has less top end. So we hear pink noise as like a full spectrum, because it's very similar to the way that we hear frequencies. We have that little roll off basically at the top end. So the purpose of doing it is that you basically use Pro Q3 to analyze a pink noise source, and then you apply that pink noise source to your track, and it will balance out the track in terms of frequencies. So if there's any sort of little notches and stuff that need to be done, it'll do that. And then so what I do is I apply that, but then I rein it back so it's only like a 1 dB difference. Like, so it's very, very subtle. Like, and Like it's something that probably not a lot of people will hear, but to me, it makes all the difference because it's like it just finishes off the track.
Yeah, I
And
mean, I did it with a couple of my tracks now. But the thing is, if you were going to do all of those by hand, you just would never be able to do them.
It'd be impossible.
Yeah,
it will literally
completely.
be impossible because by the time you've done the fifth one, your ears will already be adapted and be fatigued. So these little tricks are really helpful because they don't like they're not going to take a shit mix and make it sound mint. But they're going to take your already really, really good mix and make it just sound a little bit better, a little bit more polished, a little bit cleaner. And then, the weird thing with that is that you use it after your limiter or your maximizer. But then after you've done it, you pop it back behind the the maximizer, because the pink noise needs to, because otherwise you've got loads of peaks going on. The pink noise curve it won't apply correctly, basically. So yeah, that's what I do. I've been doing that since sign language. That's something that I learned for sign language, and I think it really bumps up the quality, to me anyway. And then after that, I use like it's like an auto volume compressor, which is a Melder plugin.
So the maximizer one's a Melder one as well, isn't it?
Yeah. So and then and I use 16 times oversampling on the compressors and the maximizers as well, and linear phase on the Pro Q.
Cool.
So it just helps the top end sound nice and clear.
Yeah.
So yeah. But yeah, I'll be doing a video on it soon and demonstrating exactly what I do, and I'll probably load up one of my album tracks so I can give a really good demonstration of what it sounds like with and without these certain plugins. I'll probably load in like things like Ozone and things like that, and I'll maybe try and master it in Ozone and see what the differences are that I don't like about that or whatever.
Yeah.
Because I think that'll be useful for people to see, because ultimately it's a subjective choice. Like, I don't like to give my music to other people to master, because this is my music and I want to make it my way. And
well, you understand how to do it, so
I do, yeah. But what I'm saying is, like, I like to learn how to make my music exactly how I want it to sound. So, luckily, I've been able to do that. So yeah, like it's one of them things that I wouldn't overthink the master, to be honest. Just get your mix right.
Yeah, exactly. If you get the mix,
your mix down and your sound choice and the way that you process your sounds is so much more important than mastering.
Yeah.
Because mastering, you can literally just stick a limiter on, and if you've got a mint mix, it'll make it sound even better.
Yeah.
But yeah, just stereo width, a bit of EQing, and limited. That's literally all you need. You don't want to be doing anything fancy with multi-band compressors, things like that. Multi-band, if you need to use a multi-band compressor on your master, it's because you either don't have access to the individual sounds, so you're doing stem mastering or whatever, or the mix down's not good enough, and or things like that. Multi-band compressors are, in my opinion, they're more for like live music, because you don't have as much control with live music. With computer music, with electronic music, we can access all the individual elements to the sound and sound design it to what we need it to be.
Yeah.
Whereas with live instruments, someone playing it, and you're going to have much more varying dynamics within that track live. And your job as a mastering engineer at that point is to control them dynamics. So a multi-band compressor would be a valuable tool in that situation. So
cool. Well, I hope that that's answered all that. It is very interesting. But this is a good reason why I like to send my finished tracks up to your studio for you to master for me. But yeah, I do like to spend time. I think on that last track I did, that She's Not a Christian one, I did 3 different mix downs, didn't I, before I was happy with it. And I'm really, really glad that I did, just from doing my own mix down and then sending it up to you. On that last one, I really felt like, I'd learned a lot just from that experience.
Yeah, it sounded like you're learning to use your monitors a bit better.
Yeah, definitely. Not being scared of having too much top end, because I felt like it was a little bit dull on the mid tier. I feel like I can get the bottom end sounding really good. It was just on the top end, and I'm now happy to kind of like push up my my hi-hats and my rides and stuff. It could be something as simple as the fact that I've had tinnitus for many years. So, you know, it might be that might be a limitation that I've had. But I knew as soon as I went back in and I corrected it, or even overcorrected it in the first instance, I felt like I was happy with it then. So, but it was Sean's saying I have tinnitus too. Yeah, tinnitus doesn't have to equal hearing loss either. So, you know, don't worry about it. Just try and look after your ears as much as you can. It's not the be all and end all. Charlie Bosch is deaf in one ear, and he does amazing music. He does amazing trance stuff, bounce stuff. You know, you'll always find a way. So don't worry about it. And there's plenty of great spectral analysis things like span.
Yeah, can I just say something else before I forget?
No.
So this another, when you're doing your mix down, another really good tip is to turn your master mono.
Yes.
So that because what can happen is if you're using plugins that increase the stereo width, or you're using a synth that has a lot of high stereo widthness to the sound, what it can do, it can make the sound like louder, like much louder, especially if there's a lot of things out of phase with it. So if you set your master to mono and then do your mix down, and then when you unmono it, if there's any sounds that then don't sound like they've been mixed right, so that usually it might be louder or quieter sometimes, that's highlighting a problem with the phase of that sound. So you would either have to increase or decrease the stereo of that sound. So yeah, that's another little tip, is that I used to do that a lot when I used to work in headphones. I used to work in mono quite a lot because it was so jarring sometimes trying to mix stuff in stereo when you're working in headphones, because you don't really get a proper perception of the sound. So, and
there's a phase correlation monitor on span as well, isn't there?
A what?
There's
yeah, in the bottom right hand corner.
Yeah.
It's like a zero. There's like a 0 and a 1.
Yeah.
And as it approaches, I think it's like, so like there's like a middle. So it's -1, 0, and 1. I think. One sec, I can just check. Yeah. So it's -1, 0, and 1, and so basically 1 is completely mono. So this to the right hand side is completely mono. 0 will be like the stereo is full, but okay. And then anything that is in the minus is stuff that's out of phase and stuff that will cancel when you go into mono. So you want to avoid that.
Yeah.
So when you're watching spanning, it'll be like going like this.
Mm-hmm.
I found that between if you have that sort of like meter hovering between sort of 0.33 and 0.66, that's a good sort of area to aim for.
Cool. Thank you. And thank you to DJ Helium 3 for the raid. How are you doing, guys? I hope you had a great stream. We're doing the demo drop today, and we are joined here by my wonderful other half, Guyver. So yeah, welcome in everyone. And yeah, if I can get a shout out, please. Thank you, Ricci. So yeah, now we're going to listen to Stefano Ricci, and this is called This Mess.
easier to be part of this man. The time you spent getting me on your side has been part of the test.
There we go. That is Stefano, Ricci, and this mess. I'll take it straight over to you, Guy. What do you think? You're muted. You're still muted.
Thank you. Yeah, so I was just saying that you were doubled up anyway, so I had to mute you because I have to mute you on Facebook.
Yeah.
I obviously forgot to unmute myself. So someone just gifted me a sub. Thank
Yay!
you. Yeah, I like the track. It's one of the tracks that like it catches me off guard a little bit because it's like I was trying to think how to describe the track, and it's kind of like it's like easy listening dance, like because
Yeah.
it's like you've got like quite an aggressive kick still and sort of fairly bouncy bass line, but then the rest of the elements are kind of like what you would hear in like a chill out track, which I'm not against, by the way. Like it's just it's difficult to kind of because when I would normally give advice, I would sort of advise on arrangement and stuff. So like I guess like if that's the thing that you're going for, I'd say that the thing that maybe threw me off more is because there was like a rise and a build up towards the end of the breakdown. I think you'd probably have a better effect if you just started blending the elements in more.
Yeah.
So like it would prepare the listener for it just to kick on the same level, whereas at the moment it kind of sounds like it's building up to something new or something different or something bigger, and then it just drops back to what it was doing before, which is fine. But I think that you could create that build more in a more balanced way. I guess the way that I would do it is just I sometimes just like start introducing my percussive elements at the end of the breakdown. So rather than there being this like binary like silence to music, like because you get people dancing in the break then, and then when it comes back into the drop of like you've just got your groove again, they're already grooving to it. Like so, like
That's a
it's
good
like
point. Yeah.
so like the kick and the bass can feel like that. Oh yeah, that's what I was waiting for. So you kind of like you're like prepping them for the next bit. So yeah, that's
yeah,
my
and that's very true. To if I think back in my head to like a lot of your productions, is there's always like an element of like
it depends on the track.
Yeah,
like,
it depends on the track, but there'll be some kind of percussive elements in there, or go down to kick and bass or something like that. But that's the thing is keeping that interest there and thinking it. What I really like what you said there about you're thinking about the dancer, because sometimes we can have if a breakdown is too long, you know what it's like when you're on that dance floor.
These sort of tracks, you better to keep the rhythm there more than not, because otherwise you'll annoy people.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah.
Like it could be just because like they're kind of like the chill out and stuff. So like I think that when there's not that rhythm there, you kind of don't know what to do with yourself, because it's like it's too chill out to really lose yourself in it. For me anyway. Whereas if you've got a little bit of like it just has to be
something to lock
like
onto,
some little hats like
yeah.
It's enough to just keep your interest and keep you sort of bopping along.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I mean, it's a cool track. It reminded me of a few things. I don't necessarily know what, but there was a few different elements into it.
For me, it was the pads.
Probably the scale because is that the scale? Is it F minor?
It's Phrygian. So it's a very very strange scale.
It's used a lot in psytrance, apparently.
Yeah, it's also used a lot in techno. It's one of my favourite scales. I know yours is Aeolian, and mine's Phrygian.
Well, that's the one that I use, but
so technically, it's your favourite.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really like this as well. I loved how the pads, the pattern of the pads before the kick came in. I loved how kind of like disjointed it sounded, and then as all the other elements kind of joined it, it all made sense to me. So yeah, I really like that. There was a very slight tuning issue with one of the notes that is singing, like he goes down a semitone, and that's kind of like it's going to happen when you've got an a cappella and you're building your own chords and stuff around a track. But it was only one note that kind of sounded a little bit disjointed. However, the fact that it's in Phrygian scale makes sense to me, because that is Phrygian scale. It's got this queer kind of like
like a dissonant.
It's very dissonant. Yeah. So with
I'm
all
just
that
gonna get
said,
some water. I'll be back.
Okay. So with all that said as well, and that really for me ties into the name of it called This Mess. So that also for me is a very is another kind of like layer to the expression of this track. So I think that This Mess is a great title for it, given the fact that you're in a Phrygian scale. And it evokes that feeling of awkwardness within there, which is a way of expressing. So yeah, I really, really like that. So guys, if you aren't already, please go and follow Stefano Ricci. The link is in the chat now. But yeah, I really like that. Really liked it. Especially those pads. The pads for me were really nice. And I love the piano as well. And also thank you to everyone for all of the comments that you've put there as well. Kane, thank you for gifting a sub to Tidy Guyver. Again, DJ Helium, thank you for raiding. And also, Kane, thank you for gifting a sub to Quinny and to Conor. I appreciate you, mate. And also... what else was there? Tiff, thank you for subscribing at tier 2. Sphero, thank you for resubscribing as well for 16 months. And thank you for all of the follows as well, gang. I really appreciate you all. Yeah, we'll wait for Guy to get back. And we will then be listening to Wilson Serrano next. If anyone's got any more questions as well for Guy, put them in the chat. Hang on a second, that needs to go. That needs to go here. Okay, so we just listened to Stefan. Okay, I'm all ready now. Is he back yet? Where's he gone? Oh, there he is! Yay! Yeah! He's gone for a poo. Shout out to Mrs. Poggy. When and okay, that's a good question. Control 4.
What's that?
When and why to use mid-side EQ? So I've started using mid-side EQ for the reverb of certain like hi-hats and stuff. It could be anything you want really, just to keep the solidity of the sound, but then also be able to using mid or side EQ to have stereo width on some of the elements, but also being able to mono enough of it so it doesn't completely wash out the sound. What about you, Guy? Mid-side EQ?
Yeah, I mean it's just useful because, like, I'll give an example where it's probably the most useful. Say like if you've got a sample, maybe you sampled it from a record or something, and maybe there's one aspect of the sample. So maybe it's like a loop with a few different sounds in, and maybe there's one aspect of one of them sounds that maybe has a bit too much stereo width in a certain area. You don't have access to that sound individually. Well, I mean, maybe you do these days because you can stem separate, but let's just assume that you don't have access to that. With mid-side EQ, you can just isolate that sound's frequency range and then just decrease the stereo width of that frequency range. And so yeah, it's something that I don't use all the time because I find that you can quite easily get lost in it and end up overdoing things. So I generally use it as a corrective process, rather than something that I am like using to design my sound. Or because if I'm trying to increase the stereo-ness of a sound, I'll do it with the actual sound tools. So if I'm using oscillators in a synth, I will increase the stereo width with the unison controls, or I will pan things and I prefer to do my stereo stuff directly from the source. So, mid-side EQ, I generally use it more correctively, but that's not to say that I don't use it in other ways. It depends on the situation. But like Amber said about using it with effects, that can be cool because say if you've got a reverb that doesn't give you the control of the stereo width, which might be, there might be some, because you do get some reverb plugins that are like free plugins that someone might have just made, and not implemented all the features because they just want to, get out in the state that they wanted to, just get it out quickly or whatever.
Yeah,
You can
yeah.
use things like, mid-side EQ to increase the stereo width of a reverb, and the reason why it's important for a reverb is because you don't want loads of stereo information in the bottom end of a reverb because it'll end up sounding really muddy. So you could just really push the stereo width in the very top end of the reverb, and it'll make it sound much more like bright and shimmery and light. So yeah.
Yeah, I kind of like doing that for my rides and hi-hats, so that...
and not just reverb, so you could do it on a delay as well. So say if you've got a ping pong delay and you want the stereo effect to be much more prominent in the top end rather than the bottom end, then you could use a mid-side EQ and make like a slurp from the bottom to the top, and then your ping pong delay will have it'll have some mono information here, which will be like the bottom end, and then it'll like spread out up to the top. So yeah, that's obviously another use for it. I wouldn't. It's not something that you need to be using unless you need to be using it, if you know what I mean. Like you can use it, but if you're not using it, don't worry about it. You're not going to miss out on too much. Like I say, it's more useful as a corrective measure for like fixing things that are out of phase or have too much stereo information in. That's what my usage of it is anyway. So
cool. So it might be good for like live recordings of vocals, or something that maybe Foley, that kind of thing, or something that's been recorded in a way that
depends on how you're recording them. It completely depends. Like when I say corrective, it's like, so say if you're I don't know. It depends because like if you're taking a sample from someone, say if they've made a sample pack and they might have used like a widener tool, I don't know, like a Native Instruments super fantastic widener. Like that's not a plugin, by the way. Don't look it up. But some of these plugins you can overdo it quite easily with, and if that's something that I've experienced with certain sounds. So like you can use mid-side as a way to keep the stereo width of that sound, but then just control the bits where you need it controlling, which is most of the time in the bottom end.
Yeah.
Because that's the most dangerous area to get wrong with regards to the phase, because you can lose a lot of power quite easily, quite quickly.
Yeah.
Whereas the top end is a bit more throwaway. So like it doesn't really matter as much as if things are out of phase. It still matters because you can get weird like flanging effects and stuff, but it matters much less. So
cool. Excuse me. Okay, next up we have got Wilson Serrano, and this is Sunrise.
Don't worry. Don't worry. Let it go. Everything fades away. Everything fades away. The sunrise. The sunrise sets you free.
That is Wilson Serrano, and that is Sunrise. Guyver, what do you think of that?
Yeah, I really like it. It reminds me of like classic trance, like sort of the I don't know, like it's like more like the really old stuff. Like it kind of like sounds like primitive classic trance, if that makes any sense. So like the classic trance before it became a little bit more developed.
Yeah.
But I like it's kind of like it's got a strong identity, this track, which is really good. I really like the identity of the track. It knows what it is and it's okay with it, and it carries on with that theme. So that's a really big positive. So that means you know what track you want to make, and you lent into it, which is really good. It has like a really cool, like I'd call it like an innocent vibe.
Yes.
I love the way that the melodies like make me feel.
Yes.
It's very childlike in the I mean that in a nicer way. Like
yes.
it's like a happy. It's
yes.
like it's kind of like it's kind of like what happy hardcore would have drawn inspiration from.
Yeah.
Like they would have taken like a melody like that and then just made it a little bit more cheesy. So like it's got that. So that's why I think innocent is probably the better word to describe it. And that's, you know, I do enjoy music like this because it makes me feel like I'm sort of 15 again.
Yeah. Well, it's really good.
These are the sort of trance tracks I used to buy when I was on vinyl, like, you know.
Well, it's really good that you picked up on the strong identity, and because Wilson sends in a lot of music to the demo drop, and he definitely, like Renee says, most of his tracks are like that. They're all like, it reminds me of you in a lot of ways. They all have their sound. You know, you have your sound. Wilson's definitely got his sound, but each track is actually still very different as well. But I like the fact that you are encouraging this, you know, innocence and childlike, ness of this track, because you know, for someone like me, for example, I find it difficult to allow myself to be childlike with it. I get far too much in my head with things, and I have to remind myself sometimes to have that next natural exploration and expression that a child would have. So I
think when it comes to because there's one thing like listening to music and enjoying it for like I wouldn't make a track like this, but I'm not against making a track like this. And if I was to make a track like this, I would, to make it easier for me to make, because I know what you're saying about it, because it's quite different from the moody stuff that I would normally make. I would like make the identity very strongly in that area, so it's obvious why these choices have been made with regards to. And I don't necessarily know how I would do that, but I would that would be my goal or my focus when I'm choosing sounds or choosing a direction of the track. I think if I was to make a track like this, the thing that would define it for me to make it easier to make, I would probably make it faster for me, because it would then be more on the sort of edge of hardcore, and then it would make it like easier for me to express my Guyverness through it that way. So yeah, that, I mean, that's just advice to you really, because you were saying about like you would struggle with something like this in the studio, maybe because it's something that you wouldn't normally do. But you know, you shouldn't. There's always a way. You just got to find your way, what you're comfortable doing. So
I always respect someone very inspired by people who have a very strong sound, you know, and I can completely take away what I personally subjectively like to listen to or even DJ. That has no like influence on me still enjoying or being inspired by someone who has a very distinctive sound. And you know, another one as well is People Like Us, who has a very strong distinctive sound, and again I enjoy listening to those kinds of artists. So
yeah, like I'd say that the probably the closest thing that I've made to like the melody progression of that track is when I did the cover of Valhalla by Goriella. Valhalla's very similar in the sense of the overall theme, like it's them sort of notes, and it's very, you know, it's like it's difficult. It's such a different scale. I suppose it's because I'm usually making moody stuff, but moody and uplifting. It's like there's an intensity and a euphoricness to the melodies that I normally make.
Yeah. And it's quite difficult to make bona fide, like believable sounding trance in a major key, because it's so easy.
Yeah, because it usually just sounds cheesy.
Yeah, but this doesn't. This doesn't. No. This sounds amazing.
That should be, you know, it should be something to be proud of, because it's not, you know, it's not straightforward. So
that's it. Thank you, darling. Next up, we have got DB. I can never say your name properly, and I'm so sorry. I know you're in the chat right now. DB Eliyahu, and this is Wand Happiness. Here we go. Oh, I'm gonna just say as well before I play it, that DJ Elijah, am I saying it right? DJ Eliyahu has said, I'd just like to say thank you for playing my previous demo drop. It really did help boost my confidence and social media. Really do appreciate it. P.S. I haven't been producing for 3 years. Sadly lost my father. I couldn't produce. It got me hard. It's only the last 6 months that I'm flying at it again and loving it. I hope you enjoy this. So with that said, I'll now play it. Want Happiness by Eliyahu. I keep saying the name different every single time, but I actually like saying Eliyahu now. So that's your new name. DB Eliyahu Rework. Guy, over to you. What do you think of that?
Yeah, it's brilliant. I thought it was a brilliant track. It's got great vibes to it. Sort of getting like 90s vibes to me. Very, very well made track. You know, there's a lot of elements to that track that I liked. And yeah, like I think the only bit that I would maybe revise is like the sign sound that comes in that's kind of like reminiscent of PPK Resurrection. The do 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 do. It comes in a bit random at the end. I don't mind the sound, but if you're choosing to have it in the track, I would try to put it in a few different areas just to make it sound a little bit more coherent with the rest of the tracks. At the moment, it's a little bit random, which is it's not a bad thing, but I just think it could be better applied in some way, shape, or form. That's something I would try anyway. But
Sure.
it sounds great. Well done.
Yeah, it's a fun track. I personally thought the clap was a little bit loud, the clap laid snare sound that you had in there. So maybe another mix down if you wanted to, of course. It's just my suggestions.
It's difficult for me to comment on mixed down stuff, by the way. That's why I'm trying to focus on just feeling it.
Yeah, of course.
The quality that I'm hearing is just the stream quality.
Yeah.
So just to put clarity on that. So.
Yeah, because you're listening through
Facebook.
through the browser, which is good though, because it's good to know what things sound like on different systems anyway.
Yeah, of course.
The other thing as well, I would say that the leveling on the vocal itself, because you've got like the prominent singer, and then there's the backing singers bit, and I think with a little bit of probably manual automating the volume, so it's all a bit more balanced and level. I think that would be a really good idea, because it did feel like in parts the vocals were sat too far back. So
vocals are hard to get right.
They really
a lot
are.
of to and fro in.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Amber said about like there's a way that you can get your vocal sounding much more like balanced with volume automation, which is better than compression in my opinion.
Definitely.
Because compression you can quite easily overdo it and underdo it as well. But yeah, sometimes you just gotta keep at it with the vocals. It can take a lot of time, so a lot of revisions. So, but yeah, that I really liked it. I liked. There's a couple of sounds in there that I really liked. The kind of sounds that I would normally try and do in my track slates, like a reverse like stab sound, that goes whoop, like it's like simple little things like that just make a sound more interesting to the ear rather than it just being a straight stab. So yeah, just well done for the sound choices and the sound design or
definitely. And then also when you do reverse sounds that are already in the track, you know that they're going to work because it's actually from something that's already there. So it's not a case of trying to find something else that was going to fit around it, which is always helpful.
It wasn't like a reverse sound that I heard. It was like more like the filter had been like so it was like kind of creating a reverse effect.
Cool.
So it was like being like like flicked up really.
Cool. Festival. Thank you very much for resubscribing. And Dalek Bob, thank you for resubscribing as well. I love you too. Thank you so much. Kane, thank you very much for gifting a sub to DB Eliyahu. I really appreciate you, mate, to be subbing everyone that's had tracks on tonight. It's really kind of you. So let's move on to I'm going to do a question first. I have another question from Sean is Twitching, which is, Guy, do you mix with stems or do you do it in your production project?
I just do it. I don't do stems like so. I used to bounce everything down when I didn't have a really good computer, but I've got a really good computer now, so I can do it all like as it is, which is my preference, because you've got more control for if you need to change anything, there's nothing wrong with doing it with stems, but it can just be a little bit long-winded and a little bit like if you need to change anything, then you have to go back and re-render that stem or whatever. So you certainly don't get like I'd say the benefits of doing it is literally is if your computer is struggling to play your sounds or your tracks, and you need to be able to listen to your track basically without any stutters or anything. But then again, I would usually just bounce down the problem bit and then just bring that back into the track rather than do the whole stem. Stem's a little bit overkill. So so yeah, I just do it as like I'll make my track and mix my track without anything on the master. And about halfway through, I might stick on my master chain just to see how it sounds, but then I will take it off. I wouldn't advise mixing into a mastering chain. You honestly, you will end up with problems in your mix because your mastering chain will be compensating for issues and you won't be able to hear it.
Yeah.
With the appeal, but you make your life more difficult for doing it. So if you're using a mastering chain and you're mixing it into it, like try to see it as not a long-term decision and try to grow out of it, because you'll become a better producer for it. So like I tell someone to not do it because I've done it myself in the past, and it's a bit of a comfort blanket because you can get your track sounding really really quickly, and when you take it off, it can make your track sound really bare and not full. But if you can make your track really sound really full and really big without the mastering chain, just think how good it's going to sound when you then stick that mastering chain on.
Exactly. So, that's what I like to do.
Oh yeah, I do respect that. I'm very experienced and I've got a lot of tools and skills that I can tweak my sound in various ways, fairly seamlessly. I do remember when it was not that easy. It was very difficult to do. So, that's what.
So a couple of people are saying as well about their computers not able to. The computer's not been able to handle stuff. I mean, there's a few things like on FL Studio, we have plug-in delay compensation that you can switch in the macros bit. Also, I know that you can, in certain DAWs, you can freeze tracks. Is zip, the zip function in FL, is that the same as freezing a track?
No. So the equivalent of freezing a track in FL is consolidate. Consolidate a track, and that basically renders the audio, but what it does is it's like a macro, so it won't just render the audio of the section, it'll render it and then it'll mute the original track and put the audio in. So like that's kind of like what freezing is doing. It's just rendering the audio, but then it's muting, i.e. disabling the original instrument as well, and then replacing it with the audio as like a group's track underneath. So consolidation is the best seamless way to do it in FL Studio. What I would say is if you're going to do that, just make sure you set your project folder correctly, because all them consolidation files will go into that project folder, and if you don't have that set up, they'll be going into a random folder, and if you then migrate to like a different system and you didn't back up them files, you'll lose the files. Or just make sure you save it as a zip at the end and it'll save all them files with it. But the best way is just like I have it on my project data, I just have it to whatever my FLPs, whatever folder my FLP is saved in.
Yeah.
That is my project folder. That's what I have mine to set to. It's like a setting that you have to go into the FL settings. So,
cool.
So yeah, there's that, and then there's smart disable. That's a macro. In FL. So that smart disable, basically, it disables plugins when they're not being used. So that can be a good way to just get a little bit of extra performance out. You can put some of your synths into draft mode if need be. A lot of them have quad. Don't use oversampling unless you're rendering. That's another thing to do. But I survived quite a long time just by bouncing things down. And to be honest, there's some benefits to bouncing things down.
Mm-hmm.
Like it makes deciding between versions of sounds easy, because you have a quite clear choice between. So I used to like say like if I had my main riff and I wanted to test it out with another layer of a different synth, I would then apply that layer and I would bounce it down as like another version, So that'd be like main riff 10, and then I'll do like a main riff 11, and then so like I've got them 2 audio files, and then I would replace my audio file with the new one, and I would have them normalized in FL so that it would keep the same relative volume. So you kind of instantly hear whether it's better or worse because it's bringing it in at the same volume.
Yeah.
So it did actually make sound choice, like choosing the right sort of effects and stuff, easier. But it's a more long-winded way of doing it. But if you're on a limited system, it's kind of like the only way that you can do it, because otherwise you're always going to feel limited. You're always going to be like having the decision in your head going, I don't want to do that because my computer can't do it. But that shouldn't be how you should approach it. You should be like, well, I'll just find a way to do it and bounce it down.
Yeah.
Because then at least my music's not going to suffer.
Yes.
Like, because I can't, do this process or whatever. Like, I used to use my whole CPU on a lead sound. Like, especially when I was making trance, I used to use like Nebula, which is like an impulse response, like plugin with a lot of like hardware impulses and stuff. And I used to use my whole CPU just on one sound, bounce it down, and then you've got your whole CPU again to use it on another sound. Luckily, I've got a better computer these days, so like I don't have to be as brutal as that. But there's still times when I'll max out this computer, with certain plugins like Avenger. Avenger, you can quite easily, as soon as you start using, if you've got like a big pad sound, a big super saw pad or whatever with Unison or whatever, they're the sounds that are going to max out your CPU quicker because you're pressing a lot of voices at the same time. So with them sounds, I end up just sampling like one long note and then re-synthesizing that sample, because you don't notice it as much and you still get a really big sound. But that'll probably be another video that I do. A cool way to get a really big sound from quite a low CPU method.
Okay, cool.
So,
I mean, when you think about it, when me and you very first started kissing, we used to make music on my old PC, which was like 3 gig of RAM.
Yeah.
Well, 6 gig of RAM. Say either 4 or 6 gig of RAM. Like it
was quite fun because I remember I just used silent, and I made every sound with silent. And you can lean into the limitations of your setup, and you can make it be fun. And like I've always thrived in them situations, probably because it's how I started.
Yes.
I had to make the most of what I had, and it can be quite a good thing to have because you're not overwhelmed with choices. It's either this sound is good or this sound is bad. Like, because usually, I'm talking about when I started out, by the way. Like in that situation, that was my limitation. It was like I didn't have loads of samples. There were access to sample pack, sites. I think the only one that you really had was East and West, and then even then, you didn't have loads of choice with regards to hard sounds. You had like the Uberschall dance sounds, and you had Vengeance, which obviously Vengeance is still around, and Vengeance were the best. Yeah, and still are, to be honest. It's not all like the European hard trance stuff. But yeah, it makes you resourceful. One big thing that pushed on our productions was just sampling our records, like just all the nuclears and tidy stuff that we had. We used to just sample like loops and kick drums and things like that, and then lay them up with other sounds that we've got. And we cottoned onto the hard trance sound a lot, like about 6 months before everyone else. Like, so while Bouncy Hard House was still a massive thing, we was into German hard trance, and we was going on to buying like Overdose records and stuff. And obviously all them tracks had clean kicks and clean bass lines that you could just nick.
Yes.
Like, so like we just built up like a little library of sounds, and then it made it a lot easier just to add power to the sound. That's why my Guyver sound ended up being like a mishmash of hard house and and European hard trance, because it literally was what I had access to with regards to samples. So yeah.
Yeah. And
So just to go back to the point of what I was talking about, the limitation that I had then was I didn't have sample packs, I didn't have loads of synthesizers or anything like that to craft what I wanted. So it made me more direct with my sound choices. So I went straight to the sources. Right, I love that tune, so I will pinch that tune sound. You know, at this stage, it's not a moral choice. I'm just making good, cool music.
Yeah.
You know, like, so I would say that if you're uncomfortable about sampling other people's music, just make sure that you change it enough so it's yours. Like if someone sampled my tunes and they changed it enough so it was theirs, that wouldn't bother me.
Yeah.
I think straight up just taking someone's sound and just replaying it the way that you hear it, and it's just showing no effort. Like there's a lot of things that you can do with sounds just to shape them. I use just layer them. So
bedding
especially
loops.
with so that's how I would have turned a limitation ultimately into my superpower, because it ended up with I ended up with a unique sound accidentally. I didn't choose to do it. It was just it was literally all I could do.
Yeah.
So
yeah, brilliant. Okay, next up we have got JLF and Floormover, and this is Never Gonna Give You Up. I wonder, because I've not heard this yet, I wonder if it's what's his name? Rick Astley. Because it's called Never Get... Yeah, is it? Let's find out. Here we go. we go. That is Never Gonna Give You Up by Floormover and JLF. I'm going to send this straight over to you, Guyver. What do you think?
Yeah, it was great. Great sort of, I don't know, what would you class that as, like, sort of?
I'd call it groovy hard house.
Yeah, but I see, like, it's kind of groovy, but it's also very melodic at the same time. So, like, I would put it, it's kind of like in the kind of like area of like Hooked, like 99 Floor Elevator. It's kind of in that area. So yeah, I really like it. Like, there's not like because I'm trying to think, like, in terms of advice of what I would do differently. I'm unsure at the moment. Like, because like there's two angles that you can go. You can either lead more into melodic stuff, which I probably would say not to. So I would say, like, to enhance, like, say, like, you've got that stab, that like that sound, you could probably enhance it with, like, a more hard housey sound that like would maybe emphasize the attack of it, because at the moment it sounds kind of like a synth sound, like whatever synth VST you've used or whatever. And sometimes when you do it like that for them sort of sounds, because I do these sounds quite a lot, these like chorded stabs, they can lack a little punch. So, like, and for a track like this where it's sort of, it's like got that groovy hard house feel, adding a little bit of punch to that sound can really it can really help. It can, because it can lock it into the rhythm a bit more. So,
yeah.
So that's probably what I would try to do with that sound. But it sounds really good. So well
cool.
done.
I did pick up on it. It did sound a little bit clipping. Could you hear that on your end?
Yeah, but it's difficult because honestly, the Facebook compression, sometimes it sounds like the track's been time stretched. It'll slow down. Go.
Why are you watching on Facebook then? You should be listening on Twitch.
Because I'm on Twitch here.
Yeah, you can open up a browser source and listen to it on Twitch.
I didn't want to confuse it.
Oh, okay. Well. But yeah, I could definitely. It wasn't look at the codec or anything.
No. I'm not going to comment on them sort of things because I don't know whether it's the streaming compression.
Okay.
Or
cool.
It's on the track. So it
was definitely clipping.
It's not that I can't hear it. It's just that I don't know whether that's on the track or not.
Yeah,
so
well, I suggest that you are listening on Twitch anyway, because I know Facebook.
I'll try.
Yeah, Facebook can sometimes be a little bit like that.
Yeah, I didn't want to confuse it. That's all. So like, no, that's why. Yeah, the reason why I'm listening on Facebook is because I'm using the mute tab function.
Okay.
Because what I'm doing, I'm gonna have to get back up now. Yeah, just it's fine.
Okay, cool. But yeah, Facebook can sometimes do that. It's also on Facebook. It goes at 192 kbps, whereas when you're listening on Twitch, it can be 320. So another reason, guys, why it's really advantageous for you to get off Facebook and to listen on Twitch. It'd be better if you just sent me the actual tracks.
Yeah. Because then I could just sync them up when you're playing them, and I can just listen to them in my actual studio environment then.
Well, yeah, I mean we could, but some of the tracks are on SoundCloud as well. So
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, no worries.
But yeah, I mean we'll find another way of doing it if you want to.
It's okay. Like you can hear it.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
That's not something that you need me to listen to. Like if it's clipping, it's clipping. Like,
yeah, I could definitely hear that it was clipping, and obviously this is an easy fix for you, Josh. So, but the rest of it, really nice, interesting chords in there and progression, and I like the vocal. I'm slightly disappointed that I wasn't rickrolled, but never mind. But I really liked it. I did really like it, so thank you. Scully says, "Why aren't you two in the same studio?"
Because we're in our own studios.
Yeah.
So we're trying to be fancy, like, look more professional.
Yeah, it does, because my webcam, this is one of the reasons, but my webcam's not hasn't got any width on it, so usually someone's out of frame a little bit. So yeah, just 'cause. But
you do get a better experience like
yeah,
this.
I think so. I think it looks a bit more professional this way.
Well, yeah, and obviously, like, we kind of have our own experiences then of the track.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, that's
so
true.
we can't, like, we don't have our, like, biases from sitting together and talking to each other while the track's playing or whatever.
Yeah,
I think that's helpful, because then there might be different perspectives that we both have that, you know, be helpful to hear.
yeah, I
for
think so. I
people.
mean, like that's something that I usually say to people from the advice that I always give. I like to do it from the mainly from the aspect of if there's something technically sticking out, I will bring it up. But I like the fact that what you've been the feedback you've been focusing on is the creative aspect, which really suits you.
I've learned that so, like, a lot about production is subjective. So I try to focus on stuff that's a little bit more objective when it comes to, like, arrangement of ideas or making the track have a stronger identity, or maybe taking something that's already strong in the track and making it stronger through various ways, because these to me are a little bit more objective in a sense of if I'm saying that bass is a little bit too loud, or I don't really like the sound of that, that's not helpful, because it can just make someone unsure of their sounds. And I know from my experience, it's good to be confident of your sounds. Okay, so if I really didn't like a sound, I would say,
Yeah.
I would say maybe try a different sound, or rather than say that I don't like that sound, because someone might hold my opinion a bit too strongly when they don't need to. Like, you know, listen to me and take my advice, but
No, I think that
please.
you being here and saying things from the creative aspect is actually a better use of your feedback for people. But like what you said there about not wanting to say to people, oh, the bass is too high and stuff. I feel that that's where I'm best suited to speak to people about, because
I would have more. I would give myself more freedom to say that if I was in a proper listening environment for it.
oh, okay.
So, like, if I had that track in FL and I could, like,
Yeah.
view it in span while I'm listening to it,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
would be able to deliver that advice with a lot more confidence and precision.
Yeah.
In this listening environment that I've got at the moment, the things that I'm most comfortable with giving advice on is the creative choices and a couple
Yeah.
of sound design or sound choice things. So
Well, that's obviously why people love your music, and you know, at the end of the day, is because of your authenticity and your originality and the creativeness. Like, anyone can hear something and say, you know, the technical things of what is sticking out, which is what I feel most. I find that our feedback together is really good, because I'll be focusing on the things that I am mentally like, or are technically objective about stuff, and what you're doing naturally is you're focusing on the creative stuff. So I think that's great.
And if I was to prioritize between the two, I would say that the creative stuff is more should have a higher priority.
Yeah.
So, like, the best way that I can describe this is I'd rather listen to a shitly produced track that's a really good track than listening to a really well produced track that's just a shit track, that's a bad track with a bad idea. Like, because that's what, like, like, if you've got a track that's got personality and character and makes you feel a certain way, people aren't thinking, oh, that kick needs to be 2 dB lower or whatever. Like, they're too busy listening to a really mint track that you've made. Whereas on the other end of it, the other end of the scale, the more extreme end, where, say, if someone's just focused on producing a really polished track, but then they haven't put any thought into, like, the actual personality and creativity or the identity of the track, people are just going to go, oh, I don't like it.
Yeah.
They don't care whether you've spent 50 hours on the kick drum.
give a
Like,
fuck, no.
if the track ain't making them feel a certain way or making them dance, then who cares? Like,
Yeah.
so obviously, if you can get both right, fantastic. But
Yeah.
prioritize making a really cool, like, a track with a lot of personality and identity. So, like, I always use, when people ask me about these things, I say personality is a really strong word when it comes to describing a track. So, if you're listening to your track and it creates like imagery in your head, that's a really good way of understanding whether a track has personality or character.
Yeah.
Because you'll be listening to it and the sounds, if they've got a lot of character and personality about them, you'll be seeing things in your head, like imagery. That's a good way to focus yourself when you're trying to add more like interest to your sounds. And then an identity is kind of an extension of that. So like you could have a lot of sounds with a lot of character and personality of the track, and if they have a similar identity, then the whole track will have a stronger identity. So identity is tied into like coherency between all the other sounds. So because you could have one sound with a certain identity and another sound with a completely different identity or character or personality. So like the overall identity of the track then might be confused. But then if that is part of your identity, if part of the identity is like multiple personalities,
Yeah.
that's a strong identity. So like it sounds complicated, but it's something that if you know what you're trying to do, then it becomes a bit simpler to do. So
I love hearing you talk like this. Like we have talks about the philosophy of music every single fucking day in this house. I'll never ever get bored of hearing you talk in those ways. And a big part of that is, I think, and I'm sure a lot of you producers in the chat can relate to this, is getting out of my head. I'm very technical minded when it comes to getting things sounding really good, and I know that what you said there really relates. I can really resonate with it. And try to get out of my head and to think about music in terms of the identity and the creativity. And I know for me, this is a dance that I am starting to, allow myself to go into. And I do feel like when you know your door inside out and things are like second nature, and you have the muscle memory and you have options for creating sound. And I think that once that's streamlined, for me anyway, it will naturally allow the personal expression and the personality to shine through a lot more without it being disjointed from going from editing mode and then blue sky thinking. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think the more you know your tools, the more you can do with them. I think that a large part of just finishing tracks is like having confidence in what you're doing.
Yeah.
But that confidence only comes from experience, and then over time, like that experience, what will come with it will be a lot of extra tools and a lot of extra skill sets. And then what I have found is that from that position, you can be much better at compartmentalizing different aspects of the productional process. When I first started out, it would be just a linear, I want to make a cool track sort of thing. So your confidence is completely tied into whether you think you're doing that or not. Whereas if I'm making a track now, I can start off with a really basic draft of a track, and it won't sound amazing, but I can hear enough of what I've got in there from the jam,
Yeah.
and then I can visualize what it's going to become, and then I can just over time, I know that as long as I spend enough time on this, I'll make it sound mint.
Yeah.
But it might just some tracks take longer than others because there might be more ambitious sort of ideas that I'm trying to do in it. So yeah, that's something that comes with time and experience. You can't really fast forward that. So I would just say it's just good to be aware of what you're trying to do whenever you're in a session. So like that might sound obvious. I'm just trying to make a good tune or whatever, but try and focus on specifics. So like today I'm trying to improve my kick and bass because I'm not happy with how it sounded at this moment in time, and just focus on that, and then move on to the next bit, because it can be easy. It can make it easy just to focus your tasks, your processing tasks, or whatever. So, but yeah, it's a long learning curve, isn't it? Production, and it's something that I've spent a lot of time making a lot of different music, which helps a lot with understanding processes and how to make music in like a deep way, I guess.
Yeah.
Because if you just make hard trance or trance or whatever, you could do that all your life, but you're still going to be very limited with regards to your understanding of how to process that music. Like, so if anybody is just wanting to skill up as a producer, I would heavily advise just trying to make other genres just for fun. Because I remember like the hardest ones that I tried to do was minimal house was probably the hardest, in the sense of it was the most completely the other direction. Like, I remember just thinking, right, all right, so this was my way of getting into the headspace of making minimal house. It's like, oh, this section, it's got to be really boring, right? This bit's so I purposely had to write this is boring, but I'm making a boring track here. So when I do add the hi-hat, it sounds mint.
Is that the track you did with Dan?
Yeah. But it's an eye-opener, because it shows you like what you think you know about music production, what you think that other people find exciting about music. It depends.
Yeah.
Depends. And the thing with minimal, like if you listen to it in a club with everyone else on the same level, it does sound really, really good.
Yeah.
So, but being in that headspace as a clubber of minimal really helps. So
yeah,
that can help with other music. But I would say that it helps you just understand music on a deeper level, I guess, and be detached from genres, which can be difficult, because I've just used a genre there to describe something that I did, but more just because it was easier. But if you couldn't be detached from genres, so try to use descriptive words like that describe the feeling of your sound. So rather than saying I'm going to make a hard trance track, because that's quite a broad statement that people can have different understandings of what hard trance means.
Yeah.
So I could say, right, I'm going to make a uplifting, euphoric, banging track with a big kick and a big bass line. Like, that's more descriptive.
Yeah.
You could probably go more descriptive than that. Like, as long as you understand what you're saying, but it can be helpful, because there's a lot of like subconscious habits that we do as a producer that can be tied into these like genre. Like, so like if you're thinking hard trance, you might then not use a certain sound because it might be coming from like a techno pack or whatever, and you're like, oh, I don't know if I can use a techno sound. I mean, techno is probably a bad example, because you probably use a lot of techno sounds in hard trance. But like, say for instance, there's a vocal that I used in one of my trance tracks on sign language, the Falling Up track. I think the vocal was from like a rock. It was like a alternative rock sample pack or something, right? So like, well, I wasn't even looking at the genre. I was just listening to the sound, and it just sounded like it fitted. So yeah, that's something that you can be aware of. So that's something that I've helped myself over time by detaching myself from, and to be honest, that came as a side effect of making other genres, because ultimately you realize that a lot of genres are very similar. There's a few tweaks here and there on certain sound choices and rhythms on, and stuff.
But then that can be the difference between making something that is, say, if you're a predominantly hard house producer, and then you see a lot of them try to make a trance tune, for example. There are a lot of certain stuff that can be what you said there about subconscious decisions that we'll make, even if it's like arrangement or bass line. You know, there'll be certain things that you'll just do without even thinking that you're doing it. But yeah, I've noticed that with we've had, obviously over the last 11 years, we've had so many conversations about these kinds of things. But I think I remember you saying that you would have like different sample archives for different genres as well.
No, it's you do that.
No, I'm sure or maybe it was for like engineering and stuff.
Maybe just for organisation purposes.
Yeah, maybe.
Because like because it'd just be a case if I don't want to troll through loads of sample packs looking for certain sounds and not knowing where they are.
Yeah, but maybe the main part of what I'm saying is that, you know, there would be those micro decisions that we make on our usual genre. I know that I would definitely do it. Like a good example would be 303s. So what I do with a 303 in hard house is it's usually an accompaniment. So it sits in the mid and the treble. Whereas I remember when you came down and you said, why are you doing that with your 303? That needs to be the focus point. It needs to be meaty. I was like, yeah, but if I do that, then it's going to take up all the space. And you were like, yeah, exactly. It needs to be the front and center piece. I was like, but I never do it like that. I usually have it as like in the background, as like a lifter. Yeah. So that's
So the difference between using the same instrument in different genres there is that it's the like the importance of the sound, like where if the sound collection was a band, where would you put the sound?
Yeah, ooh, I like
so
that.
Like the acid in the techno track would be the lead singer, like.
I love that analogy.
He's leveled up in techno, like he's become Liam Gallagher in that sense.
Control 4 says, what are the key elements you focus on to achieve a high quality and impactful sound in your productions? I'll write it in the chat. And then we've just got one more track to listen to after this question.
The key elements focus on to achieve a high quality and impactful sound in your productions. So, I mean, it depends on the sound, but I will say that a track that, like a sound that impacts the most for me, the sound has to have a feeling, to it. So you have to make sure you don't over process it first and foremost. So obviously, just designing a good sound in the first place is really important. So learning sound design helps with that. It's not imperative, but like it's good to know even the basics, so that you can take a preset and you can deconstruct it and just tweak it into one way, shape, or another. So like, I'll give you an example of how you can take just like a boring lead, or what would say boring? Let's just say a normal lead, an average lead, a bog standard lead, right? And it'll sound good, and people will be happy with it.
Yeah,
they'll enjoy it. But then you could take that lead and you could apply some pitch bend and vibrato to certain sections to add expression, and it'll make the lead sound more live, more like played, and that will be more pleasing if done correctly, because it will make people feel more from it. It'll add more feeling, and it'll make it sound less like a digital preset, like a cookie cutter sound, and it will make it sound more like a played instrument. And there's ways that you can do this without putting loads of effort in as well. So if you use like key tracking on a vibrato like speed, so if you take the vibrato, if you add like a vibrato so in Avenger there's like a vibrato knob, you turn that vibrato knob on, but you can put key tracking on the vibrato speed. So when you play higher notes, the vibrato naturally will go faster. So it adds like a natural expression to the sound, and then when you play lower notes, it'll be a little bit lower. And then all you've got to do is just activate the vibrato on and off with a knob as and when you want it to, And then if you couple that with some pitch bending, which you can, do in various ways, you do it with portamento or you can do it manually. That's one example. Obviously, then you could go like there's another way that I add expression to my sounds, and that's with like high pass filters that make them like talk. You had that like Lab 4 sort of alien, quality.
Yeah.
I've always loved them sounds. Like they had a lot of expressions, so them sounds always stand out for me. And I think that the sounds that are easy to do but they're difficult to master because you have to get the balance right. Like you have to. It has to talk, but if you be too mental with it, you'll lose a feeling. So you kind of gotta play about with it a little bit. And I always record that automation in by hand, by the way. Like them sort of, because to do it manually, you kind of don't really get the same sort of effects. You can kind of do it, but I find it's much better if you at least get your rough sort of area to work in. Don't do it by hand. So yeah, like that's what I would advise, is just to view your sound as something that is trying to express a feeling, and this could be as simple as a clap, but you could make that clap express something more by processing it in a certain way. So yeah, that's like, you don't need to do this with every sound, but like that's how I would usually listen and decide what I want to do with a sound, is by thinking what is this sound lacking. That's I'd usually ask myself questions, and they're like little checkpoints. So if I'm listening to a sound that I've made or a jam, and I'm like not feeling like happy with a sound on it, I'll be like, right, well, what is it lacking? What do I think it needs? And then it's like a flow chart, and then you try to apply what you think it's lacking, and then if you're still not infused with it, you carry on. Like, what would I like this sound to now have? Like, and then you sort of just it's like a step-by-step process, and it's not linear. You're not just gonna just suddenly just go, oh, from this point, and now I'm mint. Like, it's not, don't work like that. Sometimes you might have a good day where like you will take the sound into a completely different direction. You're like, oh, this is so much better. And then the next day you might be like, oh no, it's too much, and then you go back. You need to have this ability to have a jamming session when you're unsure of your sounds and you're not decided on what you're doing with the sounds. It's important to just have a jamming session where you can just try loads of different things out, and then spend a bit of time having, listening on fresh ears, a few different, with a couple of days in between, so you can have a completely objective listen. And then pick out the bits that you like the most, and then start developing, because at least then you're not wasting loads of time processing a sound to realise that you don't even really like it, or it doesn't fit in with the like what you want to do. So yeah, jamming session's really important. I think at the beginning, I do it all the time with my albums. I'll have a complete jamming like few months where I'm just trying to work out where I am with the track, and I don't really finish a track on the album until I've got about 5 or 6 solid ideas for tracks done, because then I can start to visualize the whole album. And usually I will work on either one of the first tunes or one of the last tunes early on as well, so I know the start point and the end point, and then I can just fill in the gaps basically. But at least it gives me a scope of what areas I want to explore into. So
yeah, I really like that method, because I find that with every single track that I do, the first 4 to possibly 8 hours will be working out what it is, the tempo, the feel. Am I having swing on it? Am I not? What vocal is going to be in there? And there will be a mishmash of loads and loads of ideas. The great thing about FL Studio is you can have multiple arrangement screens, so you can hide all of the blue sky thinking stuff away and never have to get rid of any of these ideas, just in case you ever feel like, you want to go back to something. And obviously having lots of save points is always really helpful as well. But yeah, I possibly will take that further now in my own productions, because I always tend to start every single track with the kick, and then my clap, and then my hi-hat, and then my closed hi-hat, open hi-hat. And then, and this is actually true for the remix that I'm doing at the moment, I then went away and I thought to myself, I don't want to do this style of track now, which means the kick is not going to be suitable for this new idea that I've got. So it would probably be interesting, well, it will be interesting for me to approach it from a different place, from samples other than doing all of my percussion and all my drums first. Instead, tried it from a different angle. I think that's going to be helpful for me, because sometimes diving in and instigating where the feel and where it's going can be so excruciatingly difficult that I then start to abstain from production. Once I'm going and I've got the ideas and I know I've got something to get my teeth into, you can't stop me, but it can be quite difficult to start off the ideas. So thank you. Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay, so we've gone through all the questions. Let's get on with the last track, which is Decion, and this is called True Potential. There we go. That was a radio edit version there. Yeah, it would have, if I played it from definitely the start of the track, it wouldn't have been so full on. So there was a lot going on, but that's because I always start the track from a little bit from the beginning, because usually tracks are like 7 minutes long. This was only 4 minutes, a radio edit. But yeah, it made sense at in the second half of it. I really like this. I like the melodic aspect of it. I do still think it is quite a lot going on though within it, but it kind of suits that kind of trance-esque ness of this tune. What do you think, Guy? You're muted.
Cheers. I like. I was just thinking about what you just said there about it being quite a chaotic track. So I think that with tracks like this, they can work. Like if that's part of their feel and their sound. I think that what makes them more palatable is that if you just have little areas where it's not as full on, little breaks here and there, little mini breaks. So if you can be aware of the chaotic energy, like, and it can work in your favor that way, because then people, if it's more palatable, people will probably naturally understand this track's meant to be like this.
Mm-hmm.
Because having them little respites will allow them to enjoy the chaotic moments more when it's a bit more full on. So because it's something that if you like that sound and you like the chaotic nature of all the sounds like weaving in and out, which I like as well, by the way, like, but there does need to be a balance for me. But if it's something that you can listen to for long periods, you wouldn't necessarily intuitively think to put a respite in or a break here and there. Something that's helped me as a producer is sometimes I just think about what my mum would think of my track, because my mum's quite picky. So like, especially with the harder and more noisy music that I make.
Mm-hmm.
So usually if I'm unsure of something, I'll think, oh, well, if I play it to my mum, what would she say?
Yeah.
And that's not because like I need to make a tune that my mum likes, but it's a good guide for me of stuff that I might be blind to, like because I might be like, oh, I love this because it's full on, like it's mental. But it's good to just be aware of how someone who's maybe not naturally into that sort of sound might enjoy it better. Like so that's helped. It's helped me make better music, I think, by just having. It's good to have a few different people that you can think of, like friends and family. And the reason why I say friends and family is just because their opinions matter more than just random people. So like, if you played a track to someone that you don't really, you're not really that bothered about what they think about it, then you won't take their advice like it won't be as impactful basically in your head. So like, I've got a few different people that I think I've got. My mate Ollie, like he's got a very good taste in music, and like he's into really cool sounds and stuff. So like, if I'm making a certain track that's got a really cool factor, like I'll think about what would he think to this track. And like, there's times when I've made tracks and I'll play it to him, and it'll go to me like, you knew I'd like this track, didn't you? Like, like like, I made it for you, mate. Like, so like that can be a good little trick to get yourself into a different mindset that you wouldn't normally be in otherwise. Like making tracks for other people, like you've done it, haven't you, Amber? You've made tracks for me, and you've made tracks for in different mindsets. It can get you out of your own head.
Yeah, it definitely. When I made a track years ago, that Close Your Eyes track, and it was the very first time. I never properly finished it, but that really didn't matter. But it was the first time that I really thought about you through the whole, like, to stop being, I mentioned earlier about I'm a very in your head, in my own head kind of music producer. As much as I am very expressive and in my own way, especially behind the decks and my character, when it comes to music, it doesn't come to me naturally to be expressive from a very deep place. but I definitely did in that track, and it was just so. I'm really happy that you remembered that.
Right.
It's it was such an easier. It was easier decision making, and it just happened. I didn't overthink it. Yeah. Thank you for reminding me that, because I will go back to doing that again. I like what you said about you said about asking your mum to listen to stuff. You've always done that. Because it's. Do you think that it is a symptom of people who are non-music producers? Is that why? Part of it, like the fact that, because like if you ask a producer friend, they will probably go into the realms of, oh, that's too.
Yeah. Like, like it's not helpful for me to send it to another producer.
Yeah.
Because like, it could just probably confuse me. Because I know producers have their own ideology about stuff, and that's not helpful to me. I'm pretty comfortable with my decisions with production. So what's helpful to me is, so like my mum represents more like the average person listening. Like, because she likes trance, she likes uplifting stuff, she likes feel good music.
Yeah.
So she will dance to really full on music if it's the right vibe. So it's a good reminder for me to just double check how listenable my more full on stuff is.
Yeah.
Now another good guide is India and Sasha, the kids.
Yeah.
So they will be a good guide as to how relevant your track is in this day and age.
It's dangerous though.
So yeah, like I mean, it's not important for them to like it, but if they do, it shows you that like, and generally they're like more bouncy, sort of ravey kind of sounds.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like, you know, having people that aren't producers that listen to music, have a good taste in music, but in different areas. So like my mate Ollie, he's just into good music. He'll listen to all sorts.
Yeah.
And then my mum is like she's more like your average person listening to music, but she really likes trance. Like and she will dance to like hard house and stuff, but as soon as it starts getting too hard and too noisy, she loses interest really. Same with drum and bass. She says she doesn't like drum and bass, but if you stick on some like summery vocal,
exactly,
like bouncy drum and bass, she will love it. Like,
exactly.
So like her connotation with the genre of drum and bass is like the stuff that you would normally hear at like 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, the
like,
moody stuff.
Yeah, the moody stuff. That,
exactly.
Like, you associate with people losing their heads on, like. So,
yeah.
So yeah, like, and I've made tracks for you. Like, you've helped me get into a more like fun, hard housey mindset.
Yeah.
So like, you know, back to the old school. That was done with you in mind. You know, I wouldn't have made that track like it is. Hello, look who's here.
Oh, hello, sleepyhead. This is Babu. Look how gorgeous he is. This is our son.
Yeah.
Oh, Savannah.
So yeah, I wanted to make sure that I've just talked about my Patreon before we go.
Yes, please do.
So if no one knows what a Patreon is, keep looking at me. It's just like a place where I do like video tutorials. There's like a little community on there, so like there's a little chat area. There's various videos that I will do about production. So there's various tiers. There's 4 tiers, ranging from £5 to £50. On the expensive end, that's when you get one-on-one time video calls every month with me. But you also get access to project files, sample packs, preset packs, and obviously all the videos. On the most basic level at £5, you get access to all the community stuff, like getting involved with interaction, like suggesting ideas for videos, and then obviously all the videos as well. Like that, I try to do at least 1 a week. Sometimes it's 2 a week. So yeah, like that's something that it's been going really well, and the people that have joined already are really happy, and I'm on top with it. When people message in there or ask me a question, I'm pretty quick. If it's not straight away, it's usually a couple of hours later or something, because if I'm busy with family stuff or whatever. And yeah, so if you just wanted to dip your toe in, you could just subscribe to the £5 tier and have access to the video tutorials. And I think it's a really good way for you to level up. If you're sort of making, I guess, hard trance, like, or psytrance or hard house, I mean, you could apply what I'm teaching you to other genres, but you'll probably get most out of it if you wanted to make more melodic, like, because obviously that's my speciality, and you don't really get YouTube tutorials on my sort of hard trance. It's mainly like it's either trance, or it's like tech trance, or it's
Maybe
like
hard
hardstyle.
style.
Yeah, you don't really get European hard trance like tutorials or guides on YouTube, because it's kind of like a niche, I guess. But
Yeah.
so yeah, there's a lot of unique things that I'm sharing in the Patreon, and I've got a massive list of things to do videos on, and I'm really excited. It's something that I've wanted to do for a while. I've not really known how to do it or whatever, so I'm just glad that it's up and running. And yeah, if you have any questions about it, just message me on Facebook, and I can I can help you decide whether it's something that's going to be helpful to you. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, obviously I've had Guyver on tap for the last 11 years, but certainly in the last well, we've always done stuff together. You've always shown me stuff. But it's really nice to see that you are imparting this knowledge on to other people as well. So if I can be like an example of like how much better my production is, I basically learned everything that I know from Guy. Obviously bits when I was at uni. Uni was more for me to actually get me finishing stuff and doing certain projects, building an album, and stuff that I probably would just never have done on my own because I'm lazy. But absolutely, you guys are going to learn a lot of the stuff everything that I've learned, and I'm really excited to see where this takes you as well, Guy, because it's. I'm just really proud of you and everything that you've achieved. So, yeah,
Cheers,
I really
mate.
am. I love you so much, and it's been lovely to have you on here. We'll get you back on as well at some point, because I think these. I know everyone else really enjoys, your take on their music as well, and it's really important as a music producer to listen to yourself first and foremost, but also anyone that you really feel you can relate to and their personal music journey. It can be so much more advantageous to be around them and to take their knowledge than just a YouTube short of, hey, you want a real good kick and bass, then follow this 2-step guy. It's because like Guy will always come at this from not only the technical side, but he's leaned into the the actual artistry here and the philosophy of music production, which I think is very difficult unless you're watching a podcast possibly on music production online. I don't think you'll really get those organic natural conversations that you'll get being part of Guy's Patreon. And like Guy's very much into a producer or an artist called Ren at the moment, and I think that it's quite obvious. It's like an inception thing here of like, I feel very much the same about you, Guy, as you probably do about Ren, in terms of like, and how important being around someone when you want to be an artist yourself can be.
Yeah, well, I'm in awe of Ren. Like, it's good to have people like artists that make you feel that way.
Yeah.
Like, because I'm quite hard to please. Like, I'm quite hard to impress. He's someone that has really, like. It's weird because, like, obviously his music's got nothing to do with my music, but it's just, I guess, it's just like being aware of someone at a similar age level. He's a bit younger than me, but he's been through similar things as well. Like, he was nearly sectioned when I was sectioned. He's had a lot of problems with illness. His is much more severe than mine, but there's a lot of synchronicities in things that I guess he's been through. And I remember having that battle, like, internally about, like, the choice between having a manufactured sound that sells or gets on a label and just doing what you want. And I really respect the fact that he just does what he wants, and he not just does it, but he does it to such an unbelievable level that it creates actual fanatics around his sound. There's like groups of people out there that will be the reason why it becomes absolutely massive, because they can't help but spread the word. Much like me, like I can't help but tell people about his music because I feel like you're missing out if you don't hear it. I can't believe it was such a long time since I discovered him. But on the same level, like that high rend track, the one where is in that battle, I'm so apprehensive at the same time to share it to certain people, because what if they don't like it? Or what if they find it too intense? Because his music can be like, he made a song called Masochist, which is all about it's like detachment of things that he's attached to. But people took it literally, like he's going to kill his mum, kill his dad. But it's not. It's just the metaphor that represents.
Well, this is the thing about good music. Well, music of that level is it's a good sign that he's doing the right thing, because it's supposed to divide the audience. You either really get it and you love it, or people are going to just be far too triggered by it, or
yeah, he didn't make that tune to divide people.
No. It's just an offset of that being it's just a symptom of it.
I think the thing that is prominent for me with stuff like that is that so he's at a point where he believes so much in his artistry. He believes so much in his expression, because he's been crafting and mastering it for such a long time. He doesn't care whether people get it or not. Exactly. He will clarify, like, if it becomes a problem, like if it just becomes annoying to have to explain it every time. But and I love that, because you get like a really raw expression from someone when they're like that.
Yeah.
Because he will cover whatever topic he wants, and he will be brave and do it in however he wants, like that track I'm talking about. And that's when magic happens, in my opinion. Like, I mean, Ren's definitely lit a fire up my ass, like, with regards to like looking up to him, because I'm thinking, fucking hell, like, I thought I was quite skilled. And then you get someone like him who can do everything, like
but he still has the same problems that you do with this battle, like with High Ren, the battle between is this all shit, and am I just is this like pretentious, or am I really here for a purpose?
Yeah, and one thing to just mention about Ren, because I'm subscribed to his Patreon, so I watch a lot of his behind the scenes stuff. Like, his support network is all like really good friends. So, like, and his friends are his biggest fans. So I think it's helped him really craft his sound into a really unique area. Yeah. Because he's probably been able to be braver and braver with each track, each and every time, and his friends have helped him refine it so it's palatable as much as possible. So like the high rend track, that was originally, because at the end it's got that uplifting bit where he stands up and it's like standing up for himself.
Yeah.
It didn't originally have that in it. It ended like on the dark note of like this is what you got to deal with. And his friends like listened to it and they said something like, he even mentions it in the track, why have you got to write about like your pain all the time? he even mentions it in the lyric and in the actual track. So that's when he wrote the ending bit where it's like about Herp, and there is like, you know, another option, and that's the uplifting bit. That's the bit that everyone cries on. Like that's the bit that gets to you, because you've been through all the to and fro-in, and then the bit where it goes real dark and goes real evil. If no one knows what I'm talking about, by the way, go watch High Ren. It's like about 9 minutes long.
I'm going to put the link in the chat now.
It's an amazing track. And yeah, so yeah, I think his development is a lot to do with his having a really good support network as well. It's like one of his best friends is his manager as well. I think Conor is his manager. And yeah, like at the moment he's doing this thing called Chaserz, where he's talking about things that happened in his past, and then he's finishing on a track which like is relevant to the stuff that he's talking about. And he's talking about some really like difficult stuff that he's had to deal with. But that's like something, again, a normal artist might not do that, because they might be like scared of talking about stuff. Like there's one chapter where he talks about a doctor putting a finger up his ass and taking his anal virginity. and then he's like, I kind of wish that I might maybe experimented with my girlfriend a bit more, because I wouldn't have felt so like molested or whatever by this doctor.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant.
But yeah, so
that all plays back into what we talked about before, about the innocence and childlikeness. You know, as soon as you start second guessing, and it's very, someone mentioned Eminem as well, it's very, very shoot yourself with your own bullets kind of thing. You know, live life with an open heart and an open hand, and then you're invincible at the end of the day, you know. But a lot of the time the artists don't even have a choice, because if you are signed up to labels, they will control a lot of the things that you can do and say. And this is another great thing about Ren, is he's independent, isn't he? Yeah,
and like he was signed to I think Sony like in the early 2000s, but he literally couldn't finish the album because of how ill he was. So they ended up having to drop it. He had to tell him that he couldn't do it, and so like there was a lot of years where he felt like he'd missed his chance, like he blew it. And he was living with a lot of like bitterness towards his illness, because he felt like, and he's like one of his mates that I think it's called Sam, who's he's singer as well. He's the one that I remember I told you about the story where there was another lad that was busking, and he helped him out by lending his amp. So that lad, while like Ren was dealing with his illness and not being like signed to a label, he was having loads of success, and he was like you know, doing all the things that he expected to be doing. And Ren was saying like, you would think that would have made him really jealous, but it didn't. He was just really proud of him. So like you know, there's I think the reason why he's blowing up like the way that he is now, it's like he's refined himself to such a point. It's like the point in Neo where he's like, I'm ready. Like now's the time. I know I'm the one. Now I'm going to unleash all this shit onto the world, and you don't know what to expect, sort of thing. I think that's kind of like at the stage that, from like watching him and the way that he's talking, he kind of like is in a moment of actualization. And so I think the next few, he's already said that this year is going to be one of his biggest for his music. He's going to be releasing the most music that he's ever had this year. So
that's amazing. Yeah, well, I'm really happy for you. I know we've been Ren central in this house for a long time.
Like it's weird because I listen to him loads and loads and loads, and I'm trying not to listen to him too much. I don't want to overdo it, like. Because I do that with artists. I'll
I live it. You get me inspired with stuff when you've got your teeth into something. It could be an artist like Ren. I mean, that's not happened for a while, but usually it's, you know, a plug-in, or, you know, our talks in the kitchen about these kind of things, which leads me on to a few people have been saying, you know, we should be doing a podcast, and we have spoke about this already, haven't we? about doing a
Yeah,
podcast.
yeah. Well, I mean, now I've got this set up in here, it might be a bit easier to do because we could just do it like this, I guess.
Yeah. I think maybe like this to begin with, but once we can afford it, I think I'm going to get some
of course,
lapel
but
mics and do it in the Buddha room or something.
Doing it like this is like it's like low investment. It allows us to just test out topics.
Yeah,
or whatever.
I like being in the same room as you though, because like I feel like that would make it us bounce off each other even more naturally.
Yeah. Definitely, I think for this situation with the demo drop, I think there's been a benefit for us to be separate because we have our own perspectives then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for sending your music in, and thanks for listening to me. If anybody's interested in the Patreon, I'm sure that Amber's put some links in the chat.
I have. I've been spamming everybody.
Go over there. And then you can preview some of the videos if you want to just see what the content's like, or just ask some other people that maybe are members. So yeah, thanks for listening.
Cool. I am going to raid us over to the amazing Nick Arkle. I'm going to go and play some Pal World now. Because
I'll be down in a bit. I'm gonna play a couple of games of Warzone with Gav.
Yeah, cool. Come down when you're ready.
I will do.
Yeah, it's a date.
All right. See you later. Yay! See you, everyone. Bye.
Bye. Oh my God, that was Guyver. That was actual Guyver. Stefano will join when I get home in a couple of weeks. Amber, can you email me the link? Is not working on my phone. Yeah, I will make sure that this whole show is ready for you to watch it back straight away, Stefano. So you'll be able to watch it back. So yeah, thank you everybody. Thanks for all of your input, sending your music in. Let me just get the raid up as well. It's my day off tomorrow, so I'll probably see you on maybe Thursday. So yeah, thank you, Scully. Yeah, I love him to bits. Like what you're seeing here right now is a normal conversation. Like we spent 4 hours in the kitchen this morning just talking, which is amazing. Yeah. So I'm really, really happy that he's doing the Patreon, and I'm looking forward to doing these live streams as well. These podcasts with him as well. I know it will work really well. And I'm really happy that you guys enjoy listening to it. So yeah, thank you everybody. I'll see you Thursday. Bye.
So yeah, that last track I played was a brand new release. There's some really good new music out.